Chapter 706, Changes of the Holy Empire. 1. Jian Shen used the space gate at Dazhou Kingdom without any hindrance, directly traveling to Qinhuang Kingdom. This time, the destination for the space gate was clearly more accurate than the times before, directly materializing in a region of rural wilderness in the Qinhuang Kingdom. Jian Shen passed through the space gate and arrived at Qinhuang Kingdom. He appeared in an unfamiliar area of wilderness. He looked around before immediately soaring up into the sky, seeing all the terrain in the radius of a few kilometers. Afterwards, he immediately took out a map from his space ring and began examining it. After a while, Jian Shen finally found his directions. He put the map away and fused with the surrounding space, disappearing as a blurry shadow. He hurried towards the royal palace of the kingdom with his greatest speed. 4 hours later, Jian Shen had already traversed several thousand kilometers to arrive at the royal palace. He continued towards the center of the imperial city without any changes in his speed, to where the palace was. As soon as Jian Shen approached the imperial palace, he was sensed by the 4 imperial protectors inside. Also, a voice rang in Jian Shen's ears, "Imperial Protector Jian Shen, please come to the eastern side where the Qinhuang Palace is. We'll talk there." At the same time in the imperial palace, the 4 imperial protectors who were cultivating in the Qin Heaven Palace opened their eyes simultaneously. 3 of the people shook slightly and disappeared. Nobody knew where they went. Jian Shen immediately changed his direction. He turned into an afterimage mid-air, quickly flying towards the east where the Qin Heaven Palace was. This time when he soared into the palace, only the 4 imperial protectors who were saint rulers could feel him. He had not alerted any of the heaven saint masters within the palace. On the east, a total of 500 elite guards clad in golden armor stood dead straight outside the Qin Heaven Palace. They were currently guarding the most important part of the royal palace. Just at this moment, above the open square outside the palace, a figure descended extremely quickly with a blur. He appeared outside the main entrance of the Qin Heaven Palace without any sound or presence at all. Even though it was like that, the person's arrival was still discovered by the 500 elite guards at the very moment it occurred. However, the guards did not reveal any expression of surprise, because they had just received the transmitted message from within the Qin Heaven Palace and knew that the 5th Imperial Protector, Jian Shen, was about to come. The head guard immediately jogged over to where Jian Shen was. He knelt on one knee and said with extreme respect, "Your humble servant greets Sir Imperial Protector." "Your humble servant greets Sir Imperial Protector." Behind the head guard, all 500 guards knelt on one knee in sync and exclaimed with a resonant voice. It was so loud that it had basically spread throughout the entire royal palace, alerting everyone inside. Within in the study of the palace, the king of Qinhuang Kingdom slowly put down the book in his hands. He looked towards the direction of the Qin Heaven Palace and mumbled, "Perhaps Jian Shen is here?" Shortly afterwards, he placed the book on the table and stood up, exiting the study. A personal guard immediately put the book back to where it belonged before closely following behind him. The 3rd prince, Qin Ji, also left the Drifting Clouds Palace and stared towards the east where the Qin Heaven Palace was. He said, "The 4 esteemed imperial protectors very rarely leave the Qin Heaven Palace, and even if they do come out of the palace, they won't make such a great disturbance with their temperaments. Perhaps Brother Jian Shen has come?" Thinking up to there, a gleam of light immediately flashed in the 3rd prince's eyes. His gaze was filled with joy. "I heard Brother Jian Shen has already broken through to a saint ruler from a heaven saint master. I wondered if it's true or not." At the Qin Heaven Palace, Jian Shen commanded the guards to stand, before waltzing into the palace. When he approached the main entrance, the tightly shut door opened itself. Seeing that, Jian Shen smiled. With his current strength, he naturally could feel that it was because of a saint ruler within the palace. It was extremely quiet in the Qin Heaven Palace. Crossing over the great sill of the floor, Jian Shen arrived in a simply adorned guest room. In the center of the room, 4 people sat around a round table silently. They seemed to have been waiting for a long time already. Jian Shen knew that these 4 people were the venerated imperial protectors of the Qinhuang Kingdom. Also, his status in the Qinhuang kingdom was bestowed by the four of them, so he did not dare to neglect them even in the slightest. He hurriedly clasped his hands at the four people. Junior Jian Chen greets the four seniors. Although Jian Chen currently possessed the same strength as the four imperial protectors, he was still filled with gratitude whenever he saw them. This was because back then when he was still a Heaven Saint Master, if it were not for the four of them granting him the status as an imperial protector, perhaps the threat that Jessan Kingdom faced would not have been resolved so easily. Not to mention, he would not be holding the glory of standing on top of one of the 8 great kingdoms of the continent right now either. The gazes of the 4 imperial protectors gathered on Jian Chen at the same time, which were filled with joy and gratification. Although they originally could tell that Jian Chen's talent was exceptional, the fact that he could become a saint ruler in such a short time had exceeded what they had imagined. At this every moment, the 4 highly esteemed imperial protectors all rejoiced secretly and were glad that they possessed the insight to make Jian Chen an imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom back then. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for another saint ruler to appear in the Qinhuang kingdom in such a short amount of time. Hee, Jian Chen, we're all our own people, so there's no need to be polite. Come and sit. An imperial protector said to Jian Chen with a smile. He was extremely polite because he knew very well that Jian Chen still had a lot of time for growth in his future, and his future accomplishments definitely would not just stop there. Jian Chen, sit. It's already been some time since you became the 5th imperial protector of my Qinhuang kingdom. We've never properly had a conversation with you, so we might as well have one now. Another imperial protector invited Jian Chen to sit down with an amiable tone. Jian Chen smiled at ease. He did not hold back, directly walking to the round table and sitting down confidently in the only remained seat. He began conversing with the 4 imperial protectors. After a series of conversations, Jian Chen learnt the names of the 4 imperial protectors. They were Qin Yunlong, Qin Xiuzheng, Harry and Saxon. Of the 4, Qin Yunlong and Qin Xiuzheng were members of the imperial family. Although Harry was not a part of the imperial family, he was a native who had grown up in Qinhuang kingdom. As for Saxon, he was a good friend of Qin Yunlong and Qin Xiuzheng. He had become one of the imperial protectors from the invitation of his 2 friends. Although the 4 came from different origins, they enjoyed a similar status in the Qinhuang kingdom and treated each other like brothers, caring very deeply for one another. Although Jian Chen and the 4 imperial protectors had a great gap in age, they still talked freely. During the conversation, the imperial protectors explained some relative information about saint rulers to Jian Chen, and also bestowed their knowledge and comprehensions of cultivation to Jian Chen. They hoped that it could help out Jian Chen, as well as develop a better relationship with Jian Chen, for their relationships to become closer. Jian Chen always maintained a willing attitude to learn as the 4 imperial protectors explained details that were helpful for cultivation and comprehension. Although he was extremely talented, the 4 imperial protectors were still people who had spent many years as saint rulers. As a result, their experiences and comprehensions were still great help to Jian Chen, allowing Jian Chen to benefit very much from them. The conversation between Jian Chen and the 4 imperial protectors lasted for 4 whole hours before reaching an end. After falling into silence for a short while, Qin Yunlong cleared his throat and said, Jian Chen, the reason why the 4 of us got you to hurry to the Qinhuang kingdom is because we actually have something extremely important to discuss with you. Hearing that, Jian Chen's interest was piqued. He understood that the next topic perhaps was the main point of the conversation. As a result, he clasped his hands and said, Please speak, senior. Qin Yunlong thought over it slightly, collecting his thoughts. He then said, Jian Chen, before we tell you this, it's best if we describe the distribution of power on the Tianyuan continent. He paused slightly before continuing. On the Tianyuan continent, there are a total of 3 empires and 8 great kingdoms. The 3 empires are the countries that possess the greatest power on the Tianyuan continent. They are not any weaker than ancient clans, and even when compared with ancient clans, they stand among the best. As for below the 3 empires, the 8 great kingdoms, including my Qinhuang kingdom, stands. What others don't know is that we 8 great kingdoms are actually subsidiary countries of the 3 empires. As for my Qinhuang kingdom, we are subsidiaries of the Holy Empire. Chapter 707, Changes of the Holy Empire, 2, What? The Qinhuang kingdom is actually a subsidiary of the Holy Empire. What Qin Yunlong had said greatly shocked Jian Chen. Qin Yunlong nodded solemnly, correct. My Qinhuang kingdom is indeed a subsidiary of the Holy Empire. Other than my Qinhuang kingdom, there are 2 other great kingdoms which were subsidiaries to the Holy Empires, and they are the Fire Dragon Kingdom and the Booties Kingdom. The 2 great kingdoms possess similar strength, and aren't much weaker compared to my Qinhuang kingdom. This is a great secret on the Tian Yuan continent. Ordinary people have no idea about it, and there aren't many who know of it even in the ancient clans. Harry supplemented. Then what is the problem the Qinhuang kingdom is facing? Perhaps it comes from the Holy Empire? Jian Chen asked curiously. Correct. Qin Yunlong nodded his head seriously. The Holy Empire is about to change. Change? Jian Chen was slightly confused and immediately revealed an expression of thought. Qin Yunlong looked at the pondering Jian Chen and said, Jian Chen, the Holy Empire is actually not like the way you think it is, that the royal family rules the entire empire. It's actually controlled by 3 powerful clans. As for the Emperor of the Holy Empire, it's just a position alternated between the 3 clans. In other words, the ones who have power over the empire are not the royal family but the 3 clans. All 3 clans possess the same strength as ancient clans. Each clan has always been mutually impeded like the legs on a tripod, but the root of the problem this time is that the balance has been broken. The 3 clans are no longer in balance with one another in terms of strength. The Tsar family currently possesses greater strength than the other 2 combined, and they've already begun to move. I believe they will move against the 2 other clans, the Kazda clan and the Kara clan, to seize power to rule the empire all by themselves. As for my Qinhuang kingdom, we are subsidiaries of the Kara clan. As subsidiaries of the 3 clans, they've already sucked our Qinhuang kingdom and the other 2 great kingdoms into their fight. We're unable to act independently, so our Qinhuang kingdom will probably encounter problems in the close future. Hearing what was said, Jian Chen could not help but think about the moment in the finals of the gathering of mercenaries. He could still remember clearly that his powerful opponent came from the Holy Empire, someone called Tsar Air. In the final match, Tsar Air and he had a conversation in the arena. Back then, Tsar Air offered to give up first place in return for Jian Chen agreeing to one of his requests. At that time, Jian Chen understood that Tsar Air wanted to become close friends with him like he was with Ming Dong, so Jian Chen declined without any hesitation. This was because he could already hear from how Tsar Air spoke that there was a terrifying power battle attempting to drag him in. It was just that Jian Chen had never thought he would still be dragged into it a few years later. However, his status was rather different from what it was before. The Holy Empire holds the only chance for me to become a Class 7 Radiant Saint Master. I have to go there. But now, I, Jian Chen, will have to participate in the fight for power between the 3 clans. Perhaps this is fate? Jian Chen thought. Jian Chen, originally, the 4 of us did not want you to get involved, but with our current grim situation, it's not about us 4 anymore. This is why our Qinhuang kingdom needs your help. Qin Shouzheng said softly as he stared deeply at Jian Chen. His expression was solemn. Jian Chen paused for a while before finally speaking again. For seniors, as an imperial protector of Qinhuang kingdom, Jian Chen will definitely think for the future and safety of the kingdom. Also, I have some matters to resolve in the Holy Empire, so this time, why don't I use the identity as an imperial protector of Qinhuang kingdom to go there and do things? Perhaps I'll encounter fewer troubles. The 4 imperial protectors revealed some joy in their expressions. Qin Shouzheng smiled. Jian Chen, with you, our Qinhuang kingdom will rise greatly in strength. Also, the last time I saw you, another saint ruler and a Class 7 magical beast seemed to follow you. I wonder if you can get them to help out too. I have no right to interfere with what newbies and Jeditai do. When I return, I'll ask them. Jian Chen replied. Sure. After the important discuss, Jian Chen and the 4 imperial protectors talked some more. He gained an even better understanding of the Holy Empire and also brought up the topic of Class 7 Radiant Saint Masters in attempt to learn more about them. However, the answers he received from the 4 of them were almost exactly the same as the ones he received from Biyao, so he did not learn anything new. When Jian Chen departed from the Qin Heaven Palace, it was already evening. Around 1,000 meters from the front of the Qin Heaven Palace, a group of people had already gathered there for a very long time. The person who stood at the very front was the king of Qinhuang Kingdom, and behind him, there were a few members of the royal family, as well as an Heaven Saint Master Imperial Advisor. Naturally, there was phatic conversation between Jian Chen and the group. After Jian Chen and the king, as well as the third prince, Qin Ji, conversed a little, he was politely invited to a banquet to drink and have a merry time. Perhaps because Jian Chen was now a saint ruler, the king's tone towards Jian Chen beared some respectfulness that was never shown before. As Jian Chen, the king, and the many guests had their merry time, in a small kingdom several hundred kilometers away, there were 5 elderly people that gather in a small inn, conversing with each other. To others, their mouths opened and closed, but there was no sound at all. It was as if they were doing some unknown lip reading. I've already investigated everything. This Jian Chen is a saint ruler and he's not that weak. He's formed a mercenary group, and it's called the Flame Mercenaries or something. Other than him, there are another 2 saint rulers there. An elderly man said. Then have you investigated whether Jian Chen carries a winged cub that's completely white? An old man beside him asked. The person who was responsible for the investigations nodded. I've naturally investigated everything important, and the outcome isn't disappointing. Jian Chen indeed carries a cub like that. The cub should be what the king wants. Since Jian Chen is the captain of the Flame Mercenaries, he definitely must be at the mercenary headquarters. Let's just go directly to the Flame Mercenaries, and after we get the cub, we'll hand it directly to the king. We can obtain the other 2 monster cores with that. Okay, let's go straight to the Flame Mercenaries. On the next day, in the headquarters of the Flame Mercenaries, all the central members dined together for breakfast. Ever since the Class 7 magical beast Nubis entered the human world, he was deeply attracted to the food of humans. As a result, he would not miss any of the 3 meals in a day, and every time he ate, he would eat an amount that could feed 10 ordinary people, or even beyond that. He currently sat with Ming Dong, Yu Yu, Bai Lian and others around a large round table, wolfing down his breakfast. In front of him, there was already a large pile of plates. This roast meat is pretty good. I, the great newbies, have never tried something this great. Yes, and this dessert, give me a few serving for every meal every day. The more the better. Newbies chattered as he wolfed down the roast meat in the plate. Sir Newbies the Great, you don't need to worry. As long as you stay with our Flame Mercenaries, Bai Lian can guarantee that we will treat you with large portions of delicious food every day. Bai Lian smiled sweetly at Newbies. Newbies raised his hand to glance at Bai Lian and derided, I, the great Newbies, know exactly what you're thinking in your silly brain. You want to use these delicious foods that can be bought with purple coins to bribe me. You're underestimating me, the great Newbies, too much. I am a dignified Class 7 magical beast. I would never fall so low. The people conversed as they ate on the dining table. After being associated with Newbies for some time, they all knew about Newbies' temperament. As a result, when they spoke to him, they respected him very much, avoiding his bottom line or making him lose his temper. Also, although Newbies was a Class 7 magical beast that had lived for centuries, or even thousands of years, he maintained a youthful mind, which was why he was able to remain so cheerful with a group of people who had a similar age. Although their relationship could not be regarded as close, it was enough for a few conversations. Just at this moment, a guard ran in from outside. He reported, there are 2 people outside who refer themselves as people from the Tianmu clan. They wished to see the captain. What, the Tianmu clan? Newbies exclaimed out of surprise. It was possible that the people in the dining hall did not know what the Tianmu clan were, but newbies who participated in protecting the tungsten alloy mine knew very well. Great newbies, what is this Tianmu clan? Bai Liang blinked several times and stared curiously at the shocked newbies. Their background is pretty great. They're people from an ancient clan and seem to have some connections with Jian Chen. Everyone should go receive them together. Newbies said. Shortly afterwards, the core members of the Flame Mercenaries did not bother to continue breakfast. They all left the dining hall, walking towards the outside. When they arrived at the main entrance of the palace, they saw a flirtatious-looking girl who seemed to be in her 20s, standing silently outside the entrance. She was Tian Muling. Beside Tian Muling, there was an old woman. The old woman had peppered gray hair and her gaze was deep. She carried a dragon-headed cane and seemed just like an ordinary old person. Jian Chen had basically let Bai Lian and Yu Yu, who were good at managing things, handle all the matters of the Flame Mercenaries. As Jian Chen was not currently present, Bai Lian and Yu Yu possessed the greatest authority. They had already learnt of their identities from newbies beforehand, so when they met, they immediately escorted the two people into the palace politely. Chapter 708, Hurrying to Qinhuang Kingdom. Jian Chen left as soon as he gifted Coiled Dragon Mountain to the Tianqin clan. He directly traveled towards the neighboring Dazhou Kingdom, as he wanted to use the space gate there to go to Qinhuang Kingdom. It would save him a lot of traveling time. As for whether the Tianqin clan could maintain possession of the only spirit mountain in a radius of tens of thousand kilometers, it was not something Jian Chen needed to worry about. He knew that once the news of the Tianqin clan had the support of a saint ruler had spread, no one would attempt to obtain Coiled Dragon Mountain, unless they were organizations that did not fear saint rulers. However, even if a group like that existed, they would not become enemies with a saint ruler just for a mere spirit mountain. Since the Tianqin clan now possessed the spirit mountain, their overall strength should increase without much time. After all, the energy of the world was twice as abundant on Coiled Dragon Mountain than other places, so cultivating there would become twice as easy. Jian Chen used spatial force to quickly fly at an altitude of several dozen of kilometers. As for cat-sized white tiger, it was currently curled up tightly on Jian Chen's shoulder, sleeping. It was still digesting the medicinal effects of the heavenly resources. The primordial god silk appeared in Jian Chen's hands again. He mumbled to himself, although it's delayed me by 2 days with that trip to Coiled Dragon Mountain, the harvest is pretty big. I actually obtained a treasure like this primordial god silk. But just what is the calamity that comes with it? Jian Chen did not become overjoyed from obtaining the primordial god silk. Instead, he was filled with worry. The psychological burden brought on by the idea of a future, apocalyptic calamity just did not allow him to become happy. This was because he understood that since it was called an apocalyptic calamity, and that the laws of the world had even gone to the extent to give birth to a primordial god silkworm to leave behind a divine time, the catastrophe definitely would be extremely great and dangerous. If he did not handle it properly, perhaps the world would be destroyed. Jian Chen traveled towards Dazhou Kingdom with a heavy heart. At the same time, a burly, middle-aged man stood gloomily at the edge of the Cross Mountains. His complexion was rather pale and the haggardness of his face was difficult to conceal. He was the king from the Gilligan clan that had attempted to kill Jian Chen and obtain the winged tiger god, but was secretly repelled by Houston. Damn it, so unlucky. Who would have thought I'd meet a great expert so easily in the human world? Jian Chen, you were luck last time, but we must obtain the winged tiger god. Even if there are great human experts stepping in, you can't save the situation. The king gnashed his teeth. When he thought about the situation a few days ago, he would feel a lingering fear. Even in the end, he did not know who the great expert who had fought against him secretly was, but there was no doubt that the person was strong. With his strength of a second heavenly layer Saint King, he was beat up to a point where he could not even fight back, forcing him to use a secret technique to escape in the end. For that, he had paid a heavy price, causing his strength to fall back to the first heavenly layer, wiping out his many years of hard work in just a day. At this moment, several figures flickered in the distance. They quickly flew towards the magical beast's position, arriving before him in the blink of an eye. The figures just happened to stop on the edge of the outer perimeter of the Cross Mountains. Neither the magical beast nor the people crossed the border. There were a total of 5 people who had come, and all of them were elderly men. Other than 2 who were still ruddy-looking, the other 3 were covered in wrinkles and seemed extremely old. "King, I wonder why you have asked us to come." One of the elderly men clasped his hands, and the member of the Gilligan clan 5 meters away. He was extremely respectful. The king stood with his arms crossed and stared at the 5 people indifferently. He said, "I indeed have something important that needs to be done for calling the 5 of you here this time. Please tell us." One of the old men clasped his hands respectfully. A golden light flashed across the Gilligan clan king's eyes. The energy of the world before him began to ripple greatly, and very soon, an image appeared out of nowhere. The image was formed from the energy of the world, according to the Gilligan clan king's memory. This person's Jian Shen, a person from a small kingdom called Jessen Kingdom. He carries a snow-white, winged tiger cub. Your task is to take the tiger cub from Jian Shen and bring it to me. The Gilligan clan king said coldly. The 5 elderly men all examined the image of Jian Shen closely, deeply engraving it into their minds. Afterwards, one of the people said, "King, I wonder what the remuneration for this is?" The Gilligan clan king raised his hand, and 5 glittering, fist-sized monster cores appeared. With the appearance of the monster cores, the surrounding energy of the world seemed to become violent. In the surroundings of the monster cores, there even seemed to be a flowing stream of the energy of the world. Seeing the 5 glittering monster cores, the 5 elderly men revealed unconcealed expressions of greed and lust. The Gilligan clan king sneered slightly and said, "Here are 5 Class 7 monster cores, as a deposit. After you're done with the task, I'll give every one of you another 2 Class 7 monster cores." Gleams of light flashed brightly in the 5 elderly men's eyes. They were overjoyed. With that, it meant that they could obtain 3 extremely precious Class 7 monster cores from finishing the mission. If they successfully absorbed the energy of the 3 magical cores, their strength would rise to another level. Go, do it quick and come back quick. I'll be waiting for your good news. The Gilligan clan king vanished, only leaving behind 5 glittering monster cores floating mid-air. The 5 people stared covetously at the 5 monster cores. Afterwards, each of them took one before hurrying away. Meanwhile, in Longevity Valley, Uncle Shio squatted in the fields barefooted, clearing away all the weeds. Suddenly a gleam of light flashed across his eyes, and he said, "Shiomi, come over." Not far away, Shiomi, who was also clearing away the weeds, stood up and immediately walked to Uncle Shio. He asked doubtfully, "Father, what is it?" Uncle Shio produced a blood-red arrow banner and said, "We humans have 5 saint rulers who are working with the Gilligan clan king to do things that are detrimental to our race. Take my arrow banner and quickly go to the Bloodsword sect. Get the 4 protectors to personally move out to kill the 5 traitors." "Father, didn't you once swear that you would no longer interfere with the matters of the Tian Yuan continent? Why have you?" Shiomi asked in suspicion. Uncle Shio sighed softly. He said, "This involves a lot of things. I'm unable to do anything personally because that would attract too much attention. Also, this involves Jian Chen's safety, so I can't just stand and watch. Jian Chen's strength may have greatly increased, but he can't fend off all 5 of them." Hearing how it involved Jian Chen's safety, Shiomi's expression immediately became serious. He said, "I understand. Father, I'll go to the Bloodsword sect and get the 4 protectors to move out. But just who are these 5 traitors?" "Just tell the 4 protectors to head to Jessen Kingdom. Once they're there, they will naturally be able to tell who the 5 are," Uncle Shio said. Chapter 709, Changes of the Holy Empire. 1. Jian Shen used the space gate at Dazhou Kingdom without any hindrance, directly traveling to Qinhuang Kingdom. This time, the destination for the space gate was clearly more accurate than the times before, directly materializing in a region of rural wilderness in the Qinhuang Kingdom. Jianchen passed through the space gate and arrived at Qinhuang Kingdom. He appeared in an unfamiliar area of wilderness. He looked around before immediately soaring up into the sky, seeing all the terrain in the radius of a few kilometers. Afterwards, he immediately took out a map from his space ring and began examining it. After a while, Jianchen finally found his directions. He put the map away and fused with the surrounding space, disappearing as a blurry shadow. He hurried towards the royal palace of the kingdom with his greatest speed. 4 hours later, Jianchen had already traversed several thousand kilometers to arrive at the royal palace. He continued towards the center of the imperial city without any changes in his speed, to where the palace was. As soon as Jianchen approached the imperial palace, he was sensed by the 4 imperial protectors inside. Also, a voice rang in Jianchen's ears, "Imperial Protector Jianchen, please come to the eastern side where the Qinhuang Palace is. We'll talk there." At the same time in the imperial palace, the 4 imperial protectors who were cultivating in the Qin Heaven Palace opened their eyes simultaneously. 3 of the people shook slightly and disappeared. Nobody knew where they went. Jianchen immediately changed his direction. He turned into an afterimage mid-air, quickly flying towards the east where the Qin Heaven Palace was. This time when he soared into the palace, only the 4 imperial protectors who were saint rulers could feel him. He had not alerted any of the heaven saint masters within the palace. On the east, a total of 500 elite guards clad in golden armor stood dead straight outside the Qin Heaven Palace. They were currently guarding the most important part of the royal palace. Just at this moment, above the open square outside the palace, a figure descended extremely quickly with a blur. He appeared outside the main entrance of the Qin Heaven Palace without any sound or presence at all. Even though it was like that, the person's arrival was still discovered by the 500 elite guards at the very moment it occurred. However, the guards did not reveal any expression of surprise, because they had just received the transmitted message from within the Qin Heaven Palace and knew that the 5th Imperial Protector, Jianchen, was about to come. The head guard immediately jogged over to where Jianchen was. He knelt on one knee and said with extreme respect, "Your humble servant greets Sir Imperial Protector." "Your humble servant greets Sir Imperial Protector." Behind the head guard, all 500 guards knelt on one knee in sync and exclaimed with a resonant voice. It was so loud that it had basically spread throughout the entire royal palace, alerting everyone inside. Within in the study of the palace, the king of Qinhuang Kingdom slowly put down the book in his hands. He looked towards the direction of the Qin Heaven Palace and mumbled, "Perhaps Jianchen is here?" Shortly afterwards, he placed the book on the table and stood up, exiting the study. A personal guard immediately put the book back to where it belonged before closely following behind him. The 3rd prince, Qin Ji, also left the Drifting Clouds Palace and stared towards the east where the Qin Heaven Palace was. He said, "The 4 esteemed imperial protectors very rarely leave the Qin Heaven Palace, and even if they do come out of the palace, they won't make such a great disturbance with their temperaments. Perhaps Brother Jianchen has come?" Thinking up to there, a gleam of light immediately flashed in the 3rd prince's eyes. His gaze was filled with joy. "I heard Brother Jianchen has already broken through to a saint ruler from a heaven saint master. I wondered if it's true or not." At the Qin Heaven Palace, Jianchen commanded the guards to stand, before waltzing into the palace. When he approached the main entrance, the tightly shut door opened itself. Seeing that, Jianchen smiled. With his current strength, he naturally could feel that it was because of a saint ruler within the palace. It was extremely quiet in the Qin Heaven Palace. Crossing over the great sill of the floor, Jianchen arrived in a simply adorned guest room. In the center of the room, 4 people sat around a round table silently. They seemed to have been waiting for a long time already. Jianchen knew that these 4 people were the venerated imperial protectors of the Qinhuang Kingdom. Also, his status in the Qinhuang Kingdom was bestowed by the 4 of them, so he did not dare to neglect them even in the slightest. He hurriedly clasped his hands at the four people. Junior Jian Chen greets the four seniors. Although Jian Chen currently possessed the same strength as the four imperial protectors, he was still filled with gratitude whenever he saw them. This was because back then when he was still a Heaven Saint Master, if it were not for the four of them granting him the status as an imperial protector, perhaps the threat that Jessun Kingdom faced would not have been resolved so easily. Not to mention, he would not be holding the glory of standing on top of one of the 8 great kingdoms of the continent right now either. The gazes of the 4 imperial protectors gathered on Jian Chen at the same time, which were filled with joy and gratification. Although they originally could tell that Jian Chen's talent was exceptional, the fact that he could become a saint ruler in such a short time had exceeded what they had imagined. At this every moment, the 4 highly esteemed imperial protectors all rejoiced secretly and were glad that they possessed the insight to make Jian Chen an imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom back then. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for another saint ruler to appear in the Qinhuang kingdom in such a short amount of time. Hee, Jian Chen, we're all our own people, so there's no need to be polite. Come and sit. An imperial protector said to Jian Chen with a smile. He was extremely polite because he knew very well that Jian Chen still had a lot of time for growth in his future, and his future accomplishments definitely would not just stop there. Jian Chen, sit. It's already been some time since you became the 5th imperial protector of my Qinhuang kingdom. We've never properly had a conversation with you, so we might as well have one now. Another imperial protector invited Jian Chen to sit down with an amiable tone. Jian Chen smiled at ease. He did not hold back, directly walking to the round table and sitting down confidently in the only remaining seat. He began conversing with the 4 imperial protectors. After a series of conversations, Jian Chen learnt the names of the 4 imperial protectors. They were Qin Yunlong, Qin Xiuzheng, Harry and Saxon. Of the 4, Qin Yunlong and Qin Xiuzheng were members of the imperial family. Although Harry was not a part of the imperial family, he was a native who had grown up in Qinhuang Kingdom. As for Saxon, he was a good friend of Qin Yunlong and Qin Xiuzheng. He had become one of the imperial protectors from the invitation of his 2 friends. Although the 4 came from different origins, they enjoyed a similar status in the Qinhuang Kingdom and treated each other like brothers, caring very deeply for one another. Although Jian Chen and the 4 imperial protectors had a great gap in age, they still talked freely. During the conversation, the imperial protectors explained some relative information about saint rulers to Jian Chen, and also bestowed their knowledge and comprehensions of cultivation to Jian Chen. They hoped that it could help out Jian Chen, as well as develop a better relationship with Jian Chen, for their relationships to become closer. Jian Chen always maintained a willing attitude to learn as the 4 imperial protectors explained details that were helpful for cultivation and comprehension. Although he was extremely talented, the 4 imperial protectors were still people who had spent many years as saint rulers. As a result, their experiences and comprehensions were still great help to Jian Chen, allowing Jian Chen to benefit very much from them. The conversation between Jian Chen and the 4 imperial protectors lasted for 4 whole hours before reaching an end. After falling into silence for a short while, Qin Yunlong cleared his throat and said, Jian Chen, the reason why the 4 of us got you to hurry to the Qinhuang kingdom is because we actually have something extremely important to discuss with you. Hearing that, Jian Chen's interest was piqued. He understood that the next topic perhaps was the main point of the conversation. As a result, he clasped his hands and said, Please speak, senior. Qin Yunlong thought over it slightly, collecting his thoughts. He then said, Jian Chen, before we tell you this, it's best if we describe the distribution of power on the Tianyuan continent. He paused slightly before continuing. On the Tianyuan continent, there are a total of 3 empires and 8 great kingdoms. The 3 empires are the countries that possess the greatest power on the Tianyuan continent. They are not any weaker than ancient clans, and even when compared with ancient clans, they stand among the best. As for below the 3 empires, the 8 great kingdoms, including my Qinhuang kingdom, stands. What others don't know is that we 8 great kingdoms are actually subsidiary countries of the 3 empires. As for my Qinhuang kingdom, we are subsidiaries of the Holy Empire. Chapter 710, Changes of the Holy Empire, 2, What? The Qin Huang Kingdom is actually a subsidiary of the Holy Empire. What Qin Yunlong had said greatly shocked Jian Chen. Qin Yunlong nodded solemnly, correct. My Qin Huang Kingdom is indeed a subsidiary of the Holy Empire. Other than my Qin Huang Kingdom, there are two other great kingdoms which were subsidiaries to the Holy Empires, and they are the Fire Dragon Kingdom and the Booties Kingdom. The two great kingdoms possess similar strength, and aren't much weaker compared to my Qin Huang Kingdom. This is a great secret on the Tian Yuan continent. Ordinary people have no idea about it, and there aren't many who know of it even in the ancient clans. Harry supplemented. Then what is the problem the Qin Huang Kingdom is facing? Perhaps it comes from the Holy Empire? Jian Chen asked curiously. Correct. Qin Yunlong nodded his head seriously. The Holy Empire is about to change. Change? Jian Chen was slightly confused and immediately revealed an expression of thought. Qin Yunlong looked at the pondering Jian Chen and said, Jian Chen, the Holy Empire is actually not like the way you think it is, that the royal family rules the entire empire. It's actually controlled by three powerful clans. As for the Emperor of the Holy Empire, it's just a position alternated between the three clans. In other words, the ones who have power over the empire are not the royal family but the three clans. All three clans possess the same strength as ancient clans. Each clan has always been mutually impeded like the legs on a tripod, but the root of the problem this time is that the balance has been broken. The three clans are no longer in balance with one another in terms of strength. The Tsar family currently possesses greater strength than the other two combined, and they've already begun to move. I believe they will move against the two other clans, the Kazda clan and the Kara clan, to seize power to rule the empire all by themselves. As for my Qin Huang Kingdom, we are subsidiaries of the Kara clan. As subsidiaries of the three clans, they've already sucked our Qin Huang Kingdom and the other two great kingdoms into their fight. We're unable to act independently, so our Qin Huang Kingdom will probably encounter problems in the close future. Hearing what was said, Jian Chen could not help but think about the moment in the finals of the gathering of mercenaries. He could still remember clearly that his powerful opponent came from the Holy Empire, someone called Tsar Air. In the final match, Tsar Air and he had a conversation in the arena. Back then, Tsar Air offered to give up first place in return for Jian Chen agreeing to one of his requests. At that time, Jian Chen understood that Tsar Air wanted to become close friends with him like he was with Ming Dong, so Jian Chen declined without any hesitation. This was because he could already hear from how Tsar Air spoke that there was a terrifying power battle attempting to drag him in. It was just that Jian Chen had never thought he would still be dragged into it a few years later. However, his status was rather different from what it was before. The Holy Empire holds the only chance for me to become a Class 7 Radiant Saint Master. I have to go there. But now, I, Jian Chen, will have to participate in the fight for power between the three clans. Perhaps this is fate? Jian Chen thought. Jian Chen, originally, the four of us did not want you to get involved, but with our current grim situation, it's not about us four anymore. This is why our Qin Huang Kingdom needs your help. Qin Shouzheng said softly as he stared deeply at Jian Chen. His expression was solemn. Jian Chen paused for a while before finally speaking again. For seniors, as an imperial protector of Qin Huang Kingdom, Jian Chen will definitely think for the future and safety of the kingdom. Also, I have some matters to resolve in the Holy Empire, so this time, why don't I use the identity as an imperial protector of Qin Huang Kingdom to go there and do things? Perhaps I'll encounter fewer troubles. The four imperial protectors revealed some joy in their expressions. Qin Shouzheng smiled. Jian Chen, with you, our Qin Huang Kingdom will rise greatly in strength. Also, the last time I saw you, another saint ruler and a Class 7 magical beast seemed to follow you. I wonder if you can get them to help out too. I have no right to interfere with what newbies and Jedi do. When I return, I'll ask them. Jianchen replied. Sure. After the important discuss, Jianchen and the 4 imperial protectors talked some more. He gained an even better understanding of the Holy Empire and also brought up the topic of Class 7 Radiant Saint Masters in attempt to learn more about them. However, the answers he received from the 4 of them were almost exactly the same as the ones he received from Biyao, so he did not learn anything new. When Jianchen departed from the Qin Heaven Palace, it was already evening. Around 1,000 meters from the front of the Qin Heaven Palace, a group of people had already gathered there for a very long time. The person who stood at the very front was the king of Qinhuang Kingdom, and behind him, there were a few members of the royal family, as well as an Heaven Saint Master Imperial Advisor. Naturally, there was phatic conversation between Jianchen and the group. After Jianchen and the king, as well as the 3rd prince, Qin Ji, conversed a little, he was politely invited to a banquet to drink and have a merry time. Perhaps because Jianchen was now a saint ruler, the king's tone towards Jianchen beared some respectfulness that was never shown before. As Jianchen, the king and the many guests had their merry time, in a small kingdom several hundred kilometers away, there were 5 elderly people that gather in a small inn, conversing with each other. To others, their mouths opened and closed, but there was no sound at all. It was as if they were doing some unknown lip reading. I've already investigated everything. This Jianchen is a saint ruler and he's not that weak. He's formed a mercenary group, and it's called the Flame Mercenaries or something. Other than him, there are another 2 saint rulers there. An elderly man said. Then have you investigated whether Jianchen carries a winged cub that's completely white? An old man beside him asked. The person who was responsible for the investigations nodded. I've naturally investigated everything important, and the outcome isn't disappointing. Jianchen indeed carries a cub like that. The cub should be what the king wants. Since Jianchen is the captain of the Flame Mercenaries, he definitely must be at the mercenary headquarters. Let's just go directly to the Flame Mercenaries, and after we get the cub, we'll hand it directly to the king. We can obtain the other 2 monster cores with that. Okay, let's go straight to the Flame Mercenaries. On the next day, in the headquarters of the Flame Mercenaries, all the central members dined together for breakfast. Ever since the Class 7 magical beast Nubis entered the human world, he was deeply attracted to the food of humans. As a result, he would not miss any of the 3 meals in a day, and every time he ate, he would eat an amount that could feed 10 ordinary people, or even beyond that. He currently sat with Ming Dong, Yu Yu, Bai Lian and others around a large round table, wolfing down his breakfast. In front of him, there was already a large pile of plates. This roast meat is pretty good. I, the great Nubis, have never tried something this great. Yes, and this dessert, give me a few serving for every meal every day. The more the better. Nubis chattered as he wolfed down the roast meat in the plate. Sir Nubis the Great, you don't need to worry. As long as you stay with our Flame Mercenaries, Bai Lian can guarantee that we will treat you with large portions of delicious food every day. Bai Lian smiled sweetly at Nubis. Nubis raised his hand to glance at Bai Lian and derided, I, the great Nubis, know exactly what you're thinking in your silly brain. You want to use these delicious foods that can be bought with purple coins to bribe me. You're underestimating me, the great Nubis, too much. I am a dignified Class 7 magical beast. I would never fall so low. The people conversed as they ate on the dining table. After being associated with Nubis for some time, they all knew about Nubis' temperament. As a result, when they spoke to him, they respected him very much, avoiding his bottom line or making him lose his temper. Also, although Nubis was a Class 7 magical beast that had lived for centuries, or even thousands of years, he maintained a youthful mind, which was why he was able to remain so cheerful with a group of people who had a similar age. Although their relationship could not be regarded as close, it was enough for a few conversations. Just at this moment, a guard ran in from outside. He reported, there are 2 people outside who refer themselves as people from the Tianmu clan. They wish to see the captain. What, the Tianmu clan? Nubis exclaimed out of surprise. It was possible that the people in the dining hall did not know what the Tianmu clan were, but newbies who participated in protecting the tungsten alloy mine knew very well. Great newbies, what is this Tianmu clan? Bai Liang blinked several times and stared curiously at the shocked newbies. Their background is pretty great. They're people from an ancient clan and seem to have some connections with Jian Chen. Everyone should go receive them together. Newbies said. Shortly afterwards, the core members of the Flame Mercenaries did not bother to continue breakfast. They all left the dining hall, walking towards the outside. When they arrived at the main entrance of the palace, they saw a flirtatious-looking girl who seemed to be in her 20s, standing silently outside the entrance. She was Tian Muling. Beside Tian Muling, there was an old woman. The old woman had peppered gray hair and her gaze was deep. She carried a dragon-headed cane and seemed just like an ordinary old person. Jian Chen had basically let Bai Lian and Yu Yu, who were good at managing things, handle all the matters of the Flame Mercenaries. As Jian Chen was not currently present, Bai Lian and Yu Yu possessed the greatest authority. They had already learnt of their identities from newbies beforehand, so when they met, they immediately escorted the two people into the palace politely. Chapter 7:11, Family Transformation, 1. In the conference hall of the Flame Mercenaries, Tian Muling and the old woman were politely escorted to their seats. As for Bai Lian and Yu Yu, they received the guests enthusiastically. Tian Muling sipped some tea elegantly and shot a glance at Yu Yu and Bai Lian, the two girls who were even prettier than her. She said softly, "I'm Tian Muling. Who are you two? And what relationship do you have with brother Jian Chen?" "Hello, sister Tian Muling. I'm Bai Lian. Jian Chen's my elder brother. This is sister Yu Yu, my brother's fiancé." Bai Lian said with a slight smile. "Fiancé?" Tian Muling muttered quietly. She stared out Yu Yu with some astonishment and smiled. Who would have thought the seemingly cold brother Jian Chen has a fiancé? Really surprised me. But sister Yu Yu's manners are refined and possesses an alluring appearance. Only exceedingly beautiful women like you suit brother Jian Chen. Yu Yu's pretty face became flushed and she said with a smile, "Young lady Tian Muling must be exaggerating. Compared to young lady Tian Muling, Yu Yu is far below." Tian Muling giggled. "Anyway, where has brother Jian Chen gone to? I've specially come today representing the Tianmu clan to look for brother Jian Chen." "Young lady Tian Muling, we must apologize. A few days ago, my brother had matters to attend to, so he went to the Qinhuang kingdom. We don't know when he'll return." Bai Lian said apologetically. An expression of disappointment appeared on Tian Muling's face. She sighed softly, "Looks like I've really come at the wrong time. Young lady Tian Muling, why don't you and this senior stay here for a few days? Jian Chen should return very soon." Tian Muling stretched before looking at the silent old woman beside her. She said, "Grandma Wang, why don't we stay here for a few days and wait for Jian Chen to come back?" The old woman stared at Tian Muling affectionately and said with a smile, "As long as Linger wants to. Grandma will listen to you." As soon as she finished speaking, a gleam of light suddenly flashed across her eyes. She slowly raised her head to look at the distance. At this moment, there was a weird light to her eyes, as if she could see through the structure and directly observe what was going on outside. Soon afterwards, a great pressure suddenly erupted. It swept through the entire palace, causing those who were slightly weaker to feel as if their bodies were being crushed at by a boulder. Not only did they become extremely solemn, they even struggled to breath. Bai Lian and Yu Yu were also affected in the conference hall. Their complexions suddenly paled and their legs became powerless. They struggled to stand and almost fell down. The old woman on the seat sneered. She gently tapped the dragon-headed cane on the ground, and suddenly, the great pressure immediately vanished. "Is the captain of the Flame Mercenaries, Jian Chen, here? Hurry up and come out." An old voice reverberated from the sky. It was like an explosion, extremely deafening, and it spread throughout the entire city. Everyone in the city heard it. In the sky above the Flame Mercenaries' headquarters, 5 figures had already appeared at some time. They stood erect in the sky like gods that had descended. Who is being so impudent outside? A cold snort resounded from the palace where the Flame Mercenaries were. Short afterwards, 3 great presences erupted from the palace simultaneously. Biyao, Jietai, and Nubis flew out from the palace at the same time, stopping 100 meters away from the 5. They suppressed the great presence given off by the 5 people. Who would have thought the Flame Mercenaries would have 3 saint rulers? A little surprising. Of the 5 elderly men, one of they stared at the 3 people in disdain. Biyao observed the 5 people rather solemnly. He could feel the strength of the 5 people. 3 were 5th heavenly layer saint rulers, while the other 2 were in the 6th heavenly layer. Such a powerful lineup definitely was not something the 3 of them could deal with. Who are you? Why are you looking for my great-grandson? Biyao asked with a deep voice. The expression he currently displayed was not nice. The 5 people swept across the Biyao and the other 2. They did not find Jian Chen with them, so one of the people said rather impatiently, "Hurry up and tell Jian Chen to come out. We're looking for him for some matters. My great-grandson is not here. If you're looking for him, perhaps you've made the trip in vain," Biyao said with a deep voice. The 5 people did not come with good intentions, so he knew they were not friends but foe. The 5 elderly men became slightly gloomy. One of them said huskily, "What, not here? Where's he gone? Hurry up and tell us." The person's tone was imperative and did not seem tolerant to any resistance, as if he was directly ordering Biyao and the other 2. Nubis was unable to maintain his composure. As a beast of antiquity, the pride within him did not allow anyone to speak in such a way to him. Under the situation in which his dignity was challenged, he would not feel any fear even if the opponents were 6th heavenly cycle saint rulers. "You old bastard, who do you think you are? You better be careful with your tone, otherwise don't blame me, the great Nubis, for being impolite." Nubis stared coldly at the old man who had spoken out. The old man was slightly stunned. He had never imagined that Nubis, a mere 3rd heavenly layer saint ruler, would speak to him like that. He had lived for so long yet he had never encountered such a situation. However, the old man's complexion quickly became ugly. He stared at Nubis with great shock and killing intent rose up without any restraint. He said coldly, "You're looking to die." As soon as he finished speaking, the old man appeared in front of Nubis with a great speed. His right hand formed a claw, swinging at Nubis's neck with lightning speed. The old man who had attacked was a 5th heavenly layer saint ruler. Facing against him, Nubis did not have any fear at all. Opening his mouth, Nubis spat out a mouthful of strong, poisonous gas. It immediately enveloped the old man and at the same time, Nubis's right hand went to receive the claw with great energy and without any fear. Rumble. The moment the 2 hands collided, there was a muffled rumble akin to thunder. Both of them stood unmoving like a mountain, with nobody backing down slightly. However, the old man's expression suddenly changed shortly afterwards. He immediately pulled back, escaping from the area of poisonous gas. He stared at Nubis in shock and cried out, "What is this poison? It's so strong that it can even harm me." Shortly afterwards, the old man seemed to think of something. He was greatly surprised. You're not a human, you're a magical beast." Behind him, 6th heavenly layer saint ruler gently sniffed at the air that was somewhat polluted by the poison. After thinking a little, he said slowly, "This is the venom of a silver-striped golden snake, a beast of antiquity." "He's actually a silver-striped golden snake." I heard that silver-striped golden snakes possess great strength. They can easily defeat those stronger than it despite being weaker." Looks like it really is true, actually able to block the attack from a 5th heavenly layer saint ruler while being a 3rd heavenly layer saint ruler. Not bad at all. It's just that, I wonder if you can resist against 2 6th heavenly layer saint rulers working together? Another 6th heaven layer Saint Ruler laughed coldly. Looks like we'll get another Class 7 monster core today. Chapter 712, Family Transformation, 2. One of the 6th heavenly layer Saint Rulers said to the other one, "Sit you old coot, silver-striped golden snakes have a crazy combat ability. Also, their venom is renowned on the Tianyuan continent, so they're not easy to handle. In my opinion, we should fight together and kill this snake as soon as possible, just in case he runs away." The old man who was referred to as an old coot stared at Nubis as if he had just discovered a great treasure. There was unconcealed greed in his eyes and he laughed weirdly. The every part of the body from a beast of antiquities is treasure. Since the 5 of us have met one today, we can't let him go. Matting, you damned devil, let's go by your suggestion. Let's fight together and finish off this silver-striped golden snake in the easiest and fastest way, and take his monster core and body. Old man Matting rubbed his hands. They were about to obtain another Class 7 monster core, so he felt unconcealed excitement. Saint Force gathered in his right hand and quickly formed a 2-meter-long sickle. He turned around and said to the other 3 5th heavenly layer Saint Rulers, "They're Jian Chen's companions, and one of them seemed to be Jian Chen's senior, so you can't let any of them go. We'll let you handle the other 2. If you catch them, we can use them as hostages to threaten Jian Chen with them. That way, we can finish the mission even easier. Don't worry, second brother, leave the 2 to us." An old man within the remaining 3 5th heavenly layer Saint Ruler smiled coldly. Every single word of their conversation was heard by Bai Hai and the other 2. It caused them to become extremely serious. With their strength, they could not face up against the 5 at all. Nubis' expression also became filled with seriousness. Although it was said that silver-striped golden snakes possessed great battle ability, he could only handle one 6th heavenly layer Saint Ruler with his strength of the 3rd heavenly layer. If 2 Saint Rulers of the 6th heavenly layer were to move against him at the same time, he would definitely struggle to hold them at bay, unable to fight back at all. "You dare to become enemies with our flame mercenaries? Perhaps you don't know that the Grand Elder of Mercenary City is supporting us flame mercenaries from behind?" Jida Tai yelled deeply. He attempted to use the Grand Elder's name to deter the 5 people. However, the 5 people clearly did not know anything about the flame mercenary situation and did not believe what Jida Tai said at all. Old man Situ stared at Jida Tai in ridicule and said, "Who do you think the Grand Elder of Mercenary City is? Why would he have any connections with your insignificant mercenary group? Do you really think I'm as easy to trick as a 3-year-old? Humph, Matang, let's do it. We'll get the monster core from the silver-striped golden snake first." As soon as he finished speaking, Old Man Situ took the initiative to rush at Nubis with his saint weapon, while Old Man Matang, who was also in the 6th heavenly layer, followed behind. They were going to fight Nubis together at the same time. As for the other 3 5th heavenly layer Saint Rulers, they did not lag behind. They rushed at Jida Tai and Bai Hai at the same time. 2 of them faced off against Bai Hai, who was also in the 5th heavenly layer, while the other person faced off against Jida Tai, who was only in the 3rd heavenly layer. The great battle between the 8 Saint Rulers ensued in the air above the palace. When 2 people clashed, there would be a rumbling akin to thunder with powerful energy ripples, carrying the force of destruction in all directions. The palace and entire city below were also affected by the ripples, causing countless structures to collapse and countless cracks to appear on the roads. The countless merchants and mercenaries within the city felt like it was the end of the world, all fleeing crazily towards the distance while protecting their heads with their hands to avoid the ripples of battle. However, even though many did that, people were still crushed by the surrounding collapsing structure. The entire city became a mess in an instant. In the sky, as the difference in strength between the opponents was just too great, the weakest, Jida Tai, was injured by his opponent just from a few rounds of battle. He spat out blood as he fell from the sky, unable to battle anymore. Bai Hai was also suppressed by the 2 old men at a similar level to him, falling into a disadvantage, only able to defend but not attack. Nubis was the same, greatly suppressed by his two sixth heavenly layer Saint Ruler opponents. Hiss. Suddenly, a hiss that seemed to be capable of ripping apart souls erupted from Nubiz's mouth. Nubiz quickly turned into his body as a magical beast. A huge, golden snake of several dozen kilometers in length hung in the sky, battling intensely against two sixth heavenly layer Saint Rulers. Transforming into a magical beast, Nubiz's ability in battle greatly increased. Just with his body as a beast of antiquity and the renowned venom, he could actually able to fight two sixth heavenly layer Saint Rulers to a stalemate temporarily. However, as the two Saint Rulers used all their strength without holding anything back, Nubiz became suppressed once again, only able to defend and not counterattack. In the end, Biyao was unable to persist against the overwhelming numbers. Not long after, he was injured by his opponent, falling out of the sky after spitting blood. He landed heavily on the ground, creating two great ditches. As for Nubiz, the great snake he had transformed into was also beaten until he spat up blood, flying far off into the distance. Old Man Situ floated in the air as he gazed coldly at the three that were heavily injured. He said with an evil smile, "Capture them as hostages. I just don't believe that Jianchen won't come. Matang, let's go and get the silver-striped golden snake's monster core." Immediately, two Saint Rulers flew towards Biyao and Jiedatai. As for Old Man Situ and Matang, they continued to fly towards Nubiz. "Humph, with this old woman here, how can you be so brash?" Just at this moment, an old voice reverberated in the area. Shortly afterwards, a presence even greater than the 5 people appeared, before an old woman with a dragon-headed cane appeared soundlessly in the air. She just happened to block the two sixth heavenly layer Saint Rulers. Feeling the great presence given off by the old woman, the expressions of the two old men suddenly changed greatly. One of them immediately called out with a deep voice, "Who are you?" The old woman stared at Old Man Situ and Matang with a forceful gaze, and the corner of her lips curled into a sneer of disdain. She did not answer their question, and instead raised the dragon-headed cane. She tapped it gently at the two people. An invisible world forge immediately shot out, rushing at the two people. The two Saint Rulers knew that the old woman was powerful and did not dare to be complacent even in the slightest. They also swung out with the saint weapons in their hands, with invisible world force. The world force clashed mid-air. It did not give off any sound or any violent energy ripples, just that the space there began to shake and tremble violently, before being ripped open, revealing a black hole the size of a head. Within the black hole, starlight glimmered vaguely. The old woman stood there unmoving, while the expressions of the Saint Rulers that faced up against her changed greatly. Their throats produced a deep, muffled sound with great difficulty, before backing down. However, before they could contain the situation within their bodies, the old woman originally in front of them appeared behind them without any warning. The dragon-headed cane in her hand fused with the space, and with a gentle-looking swing, it struck the backs of the two old men with lightning speed. Sputter. The two old men who were sixth heavenly layer Saint Rulers became extremely weak in that moment, with blood spraying from their mouths. Their complexions paled in an instant, before looking at the old woman in shock. "Crap, this bloody woman's at least the 8th heavenly layer." Old Man Situ exclaimed. Chapter 713, Family Transformation, 3. Old Man Matang's expression became extremely serious, no longer as calm as before. He exclaimed, "This old woman is just too strong. Even if we work together, we're not her opponent. Retreat." Old Man Matang could not wipe away the blood from his mouth in time and immediately backed off. The sudden change in the situation caused the other 5th heavenly layer Saint Rulers to be greatly surprised. The two old men who were rushing towards Biyao and Jiedatai also stopped in their tracks, and shortly afterwards, all 3 of them convened midair. If the old woman were to move against them, they may not have possessed the strength to be her opponent together, but they could at least block a blow or two. After the two 6th heavenly layer Saint Rulers quickly backed off, they fused with the surrounding space and used spatial force to quickly retreat. As for the 3 5th heaven layer old man, their expressions were very solemn, staring extremely cautiously at the old woman with the dragon-headed cane. Who are you? What relationship do you have with the flame mercenaries? Old man Situ stared deeply at the old woman as he asked her, in attempt to learn the woman's identity. His complexion was rather pale. The old woman was hunchbacked, but she had a pair of eyes brimming with vigor. She said, "The 5 of you don't even have the qualifications to hear this old woman's identity. As for my relationship with these mercenaries, it has nothing to do with you. If you're sensible, hurry up and leave, otherwise, don't blame this old woman for being impolite." Old man Situ and Mating's expressions became rather ugly. They looked at each other, before old man Situ spoke. "Even though the opponent is strong, we aren't weak. If we all work together, I don't believe we won't be able to handle this old woman. Yeah, if we want to finish the mission quickly and easily, we can only defeat this old woman, and then control this place to threaten Jian Chen. As long as we have the flame mercenaries as a bargaining chip, Jian Chen will obediently hand over what we want." Old man Mating sneered. "All right, I agree with that suggestion. Let's work together and fight it out with her." The thoughts of the 5 people reached one conclusion very soon. Afterwards, they all rushed at the old woman. They did not hold back at all, using all that they could to battle the old woman. Jetta Tai and Bai Hai stood pale-faced on the ground. They looked up together, but they both were greatly relieved inside. Although they did not know when the old woman had come, they were familiar with the person. They knew that she was a powerful 8th heavenly layer saint ruler, and behind her stood a terrifyingly powerful ancient clan. Nubis also turned back into a human, floating mid-air. He stared at the battle in the distance in front of him and also felt extremely fortunate. Luckily the expert from the Tianmu clan is here. Otherwise, really wouldn't know what outcome we'd be facing. The old woman was already embroiled in an intense fight high up in the air with the 5 powerful saint rulers. They had already fought their way up to an altitude of a dozen or so kilometers from the initial 1,000 meters. Their battle was devastating, to a point where even the sun or moon would struggle to shine. In the azure sky, pitch-black cracks in space would appear from time to time. As the old woman fought against the 5 saint rulers, not only did she battle skillfully and at ease, she also gained the upper hand, tightly suppressing all 5 of them. The battle did not last for very long, only for around 10 minutes. Old man Situ and the other 4 saint rulers were all injured by the old woman, spitting out blood as they fell from the sky. They were all heavily wounded. The 5 people were completely shocked. The strength of the old woman had greatly exceeded what they had believed. Originally, they believed that if they worked together, they could triumph over the old woman, but not only did they fail to defeat her, they could not even touch the woman. Instead, the outcome was that they were all heavily injured. That old woman's strength must be at the peak of the 8th heavenly layer, or maybe even in the 9th heavenly layer. God damn it, why do the flame mercenaries have such an expert protecting it? One of the 5th heavenly layer old man could not help it and cursed aloud. Old man Situ regained control over his descent mid-air and shot a fierce glance at the old woman. Afterwards, he gnashed his teeth. "Let's go." As soon as he finished speaking, old man Situ immediately fled into the distance. Soon afterwards, old man Mating and the other 3 5th heavenly layer saint ruler regained control over their descent and chased after old man Situ with their heavily injured bodies. They fled into the distance, disappearing into the horizon with the blink of an eye. The old woman slowly descended from the air. Just as her feet touched the ground, the alluring Tianmu Ling arrived next to her and asked with concern, "Grandma Wang, are you okay?" The old woman's cold expression completely vanished in that moment. She stared at Tianmu Ling gently and said with a benevolent smile, "Stupid girl, how would anything happen to Grandma Wang for fighting them? It's not like you don't know Grandma Wang's strength. Linger is just caring for Grandma." Tianmu Ling smiled sweetly as she grabbed the old woman's arm and pouted. Seeing how Tianmu Ling acted, the old woman could not help but chuckle gently. Tianmu Ling was her most beloved granddaughter after all, someone she loved very dearly. "Thank you, Senior, for helping out. Bai Hai and Jetta Tai glided over hurried from the distance. At the same time, they clasped their hands and thanked the old woman. They knew very well that if the old woman did not help out today, the outcome of the situation would have been unimaginable. Not to mention that fact that they would be taken as hostages, even Bai Lian and the others would be in grave danger. The old woman looked over Bai Hai and Jetta Tai in an ordinary fashion and said, "Never thought that there'd be people who would come looking for trouble with the flame mercenaries. They don't know about Jian Chen's relationship with the Grand Elder. Though, just what has this kid done to cause so many experts to come looking for trouble? Whatever, you should quickly go heal. With me guarding here, you don't have to worry about safety." Bai Hai and Jetta Tai thanked her once again before directly leaving to recover. Afterwards, Bai Lian and Yu Yu hurried out of the conference hall, thanking the old woman without any signs of stopping. "You two silly girls don't need to be so polite. This time, I've come to find Jian Chen to discuss some things. I've saved you this time, so you can just count it as Jian Chen owing me a favor. He'll have to return this favor." The old woman revealed a profound smile. This time, it caused a great disturbance, unable to be concealed at all. Very soon, the news that the flame mercenaries were attacked by 5 saint rulers spread very quickly, causing a great commotion. Chapter 714, Loss of Parents. 1. The news of the flame mercenaries encountering powerful enemies created a great commotion, spreading everywhere in a radius of several thousand kilometers in an extremely short time. As long as it was within the area, basically countless people could be heard discussing it at any given time. Even a few hermit clans learnt about what had happened to the flame mercenaries. They were all extremely curious, unsure of exactly who had plucked up such courage to actually dare to provoke the flame mercenaries, which were supported by the Grand Elder of the flame mercenaries. At that moment, it had already become a mess within the flame mercenaries. Although the 5 powerful saint rulers had been repelled, they had still brought an irremediable loss to the flame mercenaries. Not only was the entire city and palace greatly destroyed, becoming essentially ruins, there were also countless people who were heavily injured. Those who were weaker in strength had even lost their lives in the incident. Although everything had settled down, there was still a great pile of things to do for the aftermath. At this moment, Yu Yu and Bai Lian displayed their leadership, immediately calling on the higher-ranking members of the flame mercenaries to begin tidying up the aftermath. Commands constantly flew out the mouths of the two. At the same time, in a dense mountain several kilometers away from the flame mercenaries, there was a bonfire slowly burning within a dark cave. The bright flames flickered about like the joyful dance of a disobedient child, causing the entire cave to flicker between dark and light. If one were to borrow the dim light from the flames, one could see clearly that there were currently 5 elderly people who sat cross-legged with pale faces by the walls of the cave. They were like old monks who were meditating, sitting without moving at all. The 5 old men were Old Man Situ and the other 4 who had escaped from the old woman. After consuming radiant spirit pills, the 5 of them spent half a day before finally recovering from their injuries. They opened their eyes slowly at the same time and exhaled deeply, slowly expelling a turbid air from their bodies. God damn it, just when we were going to succeed, that happens. Who thought that the flame mercenaries actually hid such a powerful old woman? She made us fail even though we were so close. A 5th heavenly layer saint ruler gnashed his teeth as he clenched his fists so tightly that they made a sound. According to their plan, as long as they controlled the flame mercenaries and those close with Jian Chen, they could threaten Jian Chen with it and get him to hand up what they wanted. With that, they could complete the mission from the Gilligan clan king very easily and obtain the other 2 Class 7 monster cores. They just did not think that such a sudden change would happen in the end, that there was actually an old woman who was stronger than the 5 of them combined in the flame mercenaries. These flame mercenaries really have exceeded what I expected in strength. Since they have an old woman who is at least in the 8th heavenly layer protecting them, the original plan definitely won't work. Looks like we have to return to the drawing board. Old Man Situ said as he pondered. When we first came here, we did not understand the entire situation, and we also know nothing about Jian Chen identity. I think we should go and investigate things about Jian Chen. It'll be good if we understand him more, as it'll help us determine what we should do next. Old Man Matting suggested. You're right. I feel that we should investigate some more about Jian Chen before thinking of other ideas to deal with him and get him to give us what we want. A fifth heavenly layer Saint Ruler said. Sure, though we shouldn't delay it. Let's move out right now and all go off to investigate about Jian Chen. We'll gather in this cave again after a day. Old Man Situ said. Soon after, the 5 people all left the cave, flying off in a direction they chose themselves. They all disappeared in the blink of an eye. Time passed quickly. A day later, the 5 elderly men all returned to the cave at the same time. Everyone, I wonder if you found anything useful? Old Man Situ seemed to be the backbone of the group, so he asked first. I found some useful information. The captain of the Flame Mercenaries, Jian Chen, actually has another important identity, and that's the 4th young master, Changyang Shangtian, of the Changyang clan. Also, he's a new imperial protector of the Qinhuang kingdom. Also, Jian Chen's a great genius. It's only been less than 50 years since he first started cultivating, and he's become a saint ruler. His talent really is unprecedented in history and probably unmatched in the future. I think that there's probably some great treasure on him, which is why he can improve at such a great rate. This Jian Chen probably inherited the legacy of some peerless expert. Otherwise, it's really hard to explain his speed in cultivation. The people explained what they had found in a few sentences, and the topic of the conversation slowly digressed from Jian Chen's identity to the treasures he possessed. However, as soon as they began talking about treasures, gleams of light flickered within the eyes of all 5 of them, all filled with greed. Old Man Situ coughed lightly and said, Our top priority is to find Jian Chen. Let's avoid the topic of treasures for now. As soon as we find Jian Chen, everything will be easily resolved. Not only can we finish the mission, everything he possesses will become ours. Yeah, let's first find Jian Chen. The Changyang Manor is Jian Chen's home. Since Jian Chen's not at the Flame Mercenaries, he must be at the Changyang Manor. Let's go there immediately, as fast as we can, just in case Jian Chen hears the news and flees. Old Man Matting immediately stood up. He was unable to wait anymore, as if he feared that Jian Chen would escape. Let's go to the Changyang Manor right now. The 5 saint ruler did not hesitate at all. They immediately departed from the cave and traveled towards Jessen Kingdom with their greatest speed. Even the weakest of the 5 was in the 5th heavenly layer, so as they traveled at their top speed through the use of spatial force, it could be considered extremely fast. They arrived in Jessen Kingdom in just 6 hours, even though it was several thousand kilometers away from the Flame Mercenaries. In Lore City of the Jessen Kingdom, the Changyang clan had already indisputably become the greatest clan in the kingdom without dispute. There was an existence that could dwarf the royal family and was respected by all ordinary people. Even in a radius of several thousand kilometers, there were no other great clans that could rival the Changyang clan. This was because in the Changyang clan, there was a dazzlingly lustrous and brilliant legend, Changyang Shangtian. The 4th young master of the Changyang clan was the captain of the Flame Mercenaries, Jian Chen. This was no longer a secret, because no matter if it was the 4th young master of the Changyang clan or the captain of the Flame Mercenaries, they both possessed overly great statuses. The fame was so great that there was basically no one who did not know about him in a radius of several thousand kilometers, receiving the attention of countless people. As a result, there would also be many more people who would ask about Jian Chen, who was like a character from a legend, thus allowing his name to be spread even further. Also, after Jian Chen had truly become powerful, he did not purposefully conceal his identity. As a result, his true identity was found out very quickly by those who cared. As the fact that the captain of the Flame Mercenaries, Jian Chen, was the 4th young master of the Changyang clan spread, the clan's status also shot up at an unbelievable pace. It was as influential as the noon sun, as dazzling as the sun that shone in the sky. No one could waver the clan's position. Chapter 715, Loss of Parents, 2. Within the Changyang Manor at Lore City, Biyao Tian was currently talking casually with the 3 other aunts, giggling from time to time. They were all very happy from the conversation. The topic always seemed to be about Jian Chen. The 3 aunts had tones brimming with unconcealed admiration, along with some envy. They all secretly despised the fact that they could not have such an outstanding son like Jian Chen. Listening to the 3 aunts talk about her son, Biyao Tian smiled so much that she was no longer able to keep her mouth closed. She took great pride in her son's outstanding talent, and also because of her son, her status rose greatly within the Changyang clan. Even the elders of the Changyang clan would treat Biyao Tian with a respectful tone. Meanwhile, in the conference hall of the Changyang Manor, Changyang Ba was currently conversing with the head of a certain large clan within the Jessan Kingdom. Brother Changyang Ba, how do you think about this suggestion? Although the esteemed young master Changyang Shangtian is engaged with Princess Galan, it's not rare for men to have 3 or 4 wives on the Tian Yuan continent. I am willing to have my second daughter, Cudi Chioli, marry young master Changyang Xiantian and become a concubine of his. The clan head said. His tone was gentle and modest, with some intention of request hidden within. Changyang Ba chuckled and said, Patriarch Cudi, I'm extremely sorry. Xiang'er's already become an adult. We, as parents, are unable to make decisions all by ourselves on matters that would affect the rest of his life. It's best if you discuss it with him after Xiang'er returns. Then I will be troubling brother Changyang Ba to say a few words of praise before the esteemed young master. Although my second daughter Cudi Chioli is not as outstanding as Princess Galan, she is a great beauty that outshines the moon. She's publicly renowned as the second beauty of the Jessan Kingdom. Patriarch Cudi said proudly. Changyang Ba nodded with a smile, definitely, definitely. Just at this moment, a great pressure descended grandly from outside. It enveloped the entire Changyang Manor. Feeling the pressure, everyone within the manor felt like a great boulder was placed on their chest, struggling to breathe. The sudden change caused everyone within the manor to be greatly surprised. However, before they could understand what was going on, a voice resounded from outside. It was old, but it was full of vigor. Where is Jian Chen? Hurry up and come out. Above the Changyang Manor, 5 elderly men who seemed to be in their 70s had appeared out of nowhere. They floated at 100-meter altitude, looking down from above. All the people within the Changyang clan endured the great pressure as they walked out of the buildings with great difficulty. They all raised their heads and looked at the 5 old men in the sky with anxiety and doubt. This was because they knew the 5 old men had come with ill intentions, but they just could not think of who was willing to openly offend the Changyang clan. Changyang Ba, Biyao Tian and the older people all huddled in a square in front of a building. They stared at the 5 old men in the sky solemnly. After a while, Changyang Ba spoke out, Who are the 5 seniors? Just why are the seniors looking for Xiang'er? As soon as Changyang Ba spoke out, the gazes of the 5 elderly men all gathered on him. Shortly afterwards, old man Situ waved his hand gently and Changyang Ba quickly flew into the air, as if his body was enveloped by an invisible force. Patriarch! All the guards and the elder people cried out. They were extremely worried for Changyang Ba's safety, afraid that something would happen to him. Release the patriarch. Just at this moment, someone yelled out from the crowd. A azure figure quickly soared into the air, attempting to save Changyang Ba. Seeing the azure figure shooting up from below, one of the 5th heavenly layer saint rulers could not help but sneer in ridicule, such recklessness. Soon after, he waved his hand gently. A powerful, invisible force immediately shot violently towards the azure figure, landing firmly on the person's chest. Blarg! The azure figure spat out a mouthful of blood which turned into mist, falling from the sky. Afterwards, he fell down from above powerlessly, striking the ground heavily. Uncle Chang! Head housekeeper! All the people of the Changyang clan cried out. They were all struck by fear and trepidation. Uncle Chang was a powerful heaven saint master, yet he was actually struck down so easily by the 5 old men in the sky. It caused everyone to be drowned in disbelief. Seeing how housekeeper Chang was injured with just a single blow, the tightly bound Chang Yangba paled greatly from shock. He looked at the 5 old men, his gaze filled with stupefaction. The strength of the old man who had just struck out caused him to feel waves of terror. This was because Chang Yangba knew very well that with housekeeper Chang's strength, even 6th cycle Heaven Saint Masters would struggle to injure him so easily. As for the old man who had just struck out, it was just a casual wave of his hand. Shortly afterwards, Chang Yangba seemed to think of something. 2 words were choked out of his mouth with great difficulty: Saint Ruler. Old man Situ stared at Chang Yangba with a sneer. Not bad at all. You know quite some things to be able to guess our strength. You must be the patriarch of the Changyang clan, as well as Jian Chen's father. Tell me where Jian Chen is. Patriarch Changyang, as long as you obediently answer our question, we will not harm you. After all, not only does killing you fail to give us any benefits, it'll increase our sins, allowing celestial decay to occur sooner. Old man Matting chuckled coldly. With Jian Chen's father in their control, he did not believe that they would fail to find Jian Chen. Chang Yangba already understood that the 5 old men were Jian Chen's enemies. He said without any extra thought, "Seniors, perhaps you will be disappointed. Xiang'er likes to travel and has left the manor for many days already. Even I, his father, have no idea where he is currently. Looks like you don't want to tell us." Old man Situ's expression became overcast. He extended a hand and held Chang Yangba by the neck as he sneered, "Situ Jian, do not want to kill you, so don't make me do it. I'll give you another chance. Tell me where Jian Chen is. Otherwise, I can only snap your neck." Chang Yangba was a courageous man. He did not fear death. Not only did old man Situ's threat fail to create any useful effect, it aggravated Chang Yangba's courage. He said, "If you want to kill me, then kill me. Even if I know where Xiang'er is, I definitely won't tell you." Old man Situ's gaze suddenly became a glare. Shortly afterwards, he looked down and said, "If you want your patriarch to live, obediently tell us where Jian Chen is. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless." Chapter 716, Loss of Parents, 3. The entire Changyang clan fell into a deathly silence. All the people stared at the 5 elderly men in the sky with fear and hatred, but no one was willing to announce Jian Chen's whereabouts. Just at this moment, 3 great presences flew over from outside city. They arrived before the 5 people very soon. They were Qin Wuming, Qin Wujian and Qin Wutian. "Seniors, please release the patriarch. You must not harm the patriarch. Jian Chen is an imperial protector of our Qinhuang kingdom. If Imperial Protector Jian has some misunderstandings with seniors, we hope that everyone can sit down and talk over it, and not fall out just because of some small things." Qin Wutian said with his hand clasped. From the presents given off by the 5 elderly men, he already knew that they were saint rulers. They were a powerful force that even the Qinhuang kingdom needed to be cautious about and could not be underestimated, so Qin Wutian's tone was extremely polite. What do you think a mere Qinhuang kingdom can do?" The corner of old man Mating's lips curled up from a sliver of disdain. He looked at the 3 people coldly and said with a deep voice, "It's best if you don't intervene here. Otherwise, even if you are people of the Qinhuang kingdom, we won't be polite. Go back to where you came from." Old man Matting swung his hand and a great amount of energy of the world immediately rushed at the 3 people. They could not resist against it at all, and was directly pushed far away by the energy of the world. Old man Situ's wrinkled hand held onto Chang Yangba's throat tightly, causing Chang Yangba to become unable to speak. He glanced down coldly again and sneered, "You've all kept your mouth rather tight. Since you don't want to speak, don't blame me for being merciless." Old man Situ suddenly tightened his grasp and with a crack, Chang Yangba's neck was directly snapped by him. Shortly afterwards, Old Man Situ let go of Changyang Ba. His body immediately fell from the sky like a broken kite. Patriarch. Husband. Cries erupted from the Changyang manor. All the people were aggrieved and enraged. A few Earth Saint Master immediately leapt up and carefully caught Changyang Ba's body. However, his neck was already broken, so he had already passed away. After all, Changyang Ba still had not become a Heaven Saint Master, so his neck and heart were all fatal weaknesses. Patriarch. After learning Changyang Ba's situation, all the people of the manor cried out in grief and rage again. Many of the elders looked at the 5 old men in the sky with bloodshot eyes. This is only an example. Tell us where Jian Chen is or tell him to come out. Otherwise, this will be the outcome for all of you. Old Man Situ sneered. Even if we die, we will never tell you the whereabouts of the 4th young master. If you have the ability, kill us all. The 4th young master will avenge us one day. A loyal head guard roared out in rage, as if he did not fear death. Looking to die. Old Man Situ's gaze became cold. With the point of a finger, a swift gale shot out from the tips of his fingers like a lightning bolt. It landed between the eyebrows of the head guard, piercing through his head. The head guard immediately collapsed on the ground, with red and white liquids flowing from the hole. The scene deeply shocked the guards of the Changyang clan. All of them stared at the 5 elderly men in terror. They could not help but take a few steps back. Within them, not everyone was loyal to the Changyang clan, unwilling to give up their lives at any moment and place for the flame. Immediately, a few who feared death fled towards the outside with great speed. They wanted to leave, to avoid the disaster. Don't think any of you can leave without telling us Jian Chen's whereabouts. A 5th heavenly layer saint ruler sneered in the sky. Shortly afterwards, a transparent barrier appeared silently with a thought of his. It completely enveloped the Changyang manor, trapping everyone inside. Changyang Ba lay on the ground with his eyes tightly closed, unmoving. Bai Yuntian, Yu Fengyan, Ling Long and Bai Yushuang gathered around him. They were all extremely pained and grieved to the extreme. Old Man Situ's glance landed on the 4 women. The corners of his lips curled into a sneer and shortly afterwards, he swung his hand gently. An invisible force immediately tightly binded the 4 women, before dragging them into the air with great speeds. Speak, where is Jian Chen? Otherwise, don't think any of you can live. Old Man Situ sneered. In order to find Jian Chen, he had already decided to start a massacre. Although it was said that saint rulers would suffer celestial decay sooner from committing overly great sins, that was only when they killed countless people. After all, a fight between saint ruler would cause too great of a commotion. If 2 saint rulers were to go full out in a packed city, they could easily destroy the entire city. As for the millions or even tens of millions citizens of the city, they definitely would not be able to survive. Only under situations like that would celestial decay occur. However, if it was just killed several dozen or several hundreds of people, there was no problem at all. Old Man Situ stared cold at the 4 women. He sneered, tell me the whereabouts of Jian Chen. Otherwise, don't think any of you can live. I'm Xiang'er's mother. If you want to kill, kill me. The others have nothing to do with it. Don't bring innocent people into this. Bai Yuntian stared at Old Man Situ. There was no fear within her eyes at all. Hearing that, Old Man Situ's interest was piqued. You're Jian Chen's mother? Good, very good. If I kill Jian Chen's mother and father, I don't believe he'll fail to appear. Killing intent rose up in Old Man Situ's eyes. He did not show any compassion towards the woman. As he clenched his wrinkled hand, it broke Bai Yuntian's neck. 4th sister. 4th madam. Cries erupted from the surroundings once again. Many of the older people and loyal guards wept in pain, while the other 3 women also became sorrowful. You're next. Old Man Situ did not give the people any time to recover. He stared coldly at the 3 remaining women and said, "I'll give you one last chance. Tell us Jian Chen's whereabouts, or you'll have the same outcome as Jian Chen's mother and father. If you want to kill, then do it. Keep dreaming about getting Shangtian's whereabouts from me. Even if I, Yu Fengyan, die, I will not tell you." Jian Chen's second aunt stared hatefully at Old Man Situ as she gnashed her teeth. She already hated Old Man Situ to the core. "Very well, then you will the third one to die." Old Man Situ's expression became overcast as he grabbed Yu Fengyan by the neck with his wrinkled hand. However, just when he was about to snap Yu Fengyan's neck, there was a sudden change in the situation. The space before him suddenly ripped open and a red flash shot out of the crack, shooting towards the center of Old Man Situ's eyebrows. Chapter 717, For Protectors of the Bloodsword Sect. Even though the change occurred extremely suddenly and without any prior signs, Old Man Situ was a 6th heavenly layer saint ruler, so his reaction speed was extremely fast. He immediately released Yu Fengyan before flying back by 100 meters in a flash. The speed of the red light was also extremely fast. It seemed to exceed the speed of lightning, following Old Man Situ closely as he retreated 100 meters, directly piercing at the center of Old Man Situ's eyebrows. A gleam of light flashed across Old Man Situ's eyes. With a sneer, the space before him immediately froze in attempt to forcefully lock the red flash midair. The red light seemed extremely small, but it carried great power. Not only did the space frozen by Old Man Situ fail to hinder the red light in any way, it was shattered by the energy from the red light, before continuing towards the center of Old Man Situ's eyebrows. However, a dark staff had already appeared in Old Man Situ's hands in this very moment. Grasping it with 2 hands, the staff immediately began to radiate with a dark light after an explosive shout. It was thrust at the red light with great speed. Ding! With a clear sound, the dark staff and the red light collided. The red light was immediately knocked away. Old Man Situ trembled slightly and could not help but take 3 steps back. His expression was solemn. The transparent barrier that enveloped the Changyang Manor suddenly broke. Shortly afterwards, a middle-aged man in blood-red, long robes appeared out of nowhere 100 meters away. He casually extended both hands to catch the red light. At that moment, the red light that had attacked Old Man Situ could be clearly seen. It was actually a conical awl, around 4/3 of a meter long and a finger thick. The middle-aged man floated midair like a demon god. His long, red hair moved in the windless sky, floating about. He was expressionless and stared at the 5 old men coldly. A harsh light flickered in his eyes and killing intent radiated from them without any intention of concealing. As for the long awl in his hand, it seemed to be dyed blood red, giving off a demonic red glow. The 5 old men no longer paid any more attention to the people of the Changyang clan. They all glared at the red-robed man. Someone had actually appeared to meddle with what they were doing at such an important time, which caused the 5 of them to become extremely angry. "Sir, who are you? Why do you meddle with what we are doing?" Old Man Matting shouted with a deep voice. His eyes also began to flicker with killing intent. Although the man in red robes possessed similar strength as him, it did not cause Old Man Matting any fear, because they had 5 people while he was just by himself. They had an advantage in numbers. "The 5 of you are working with the Gilligan clan, doing things that betray the human race. We have come under the sect master's orders to capture and kill," the man said expressionlessly. His tone was extremely cold and carried no emotions. When he got to the last 3 words, he said it with great pauses. As the 3 words, capture and kill, came out of the man's mouth, a powerful killing intent suddenly erupted from him, rushing at the 5 people with a great presence, like a roaring wave. Before the powerful killing intent, the surrounding space seemed to become viscous. It was clear that the man had reached a high degree of proficiency in controlling killing intent. Even though he gave off monstrous killing intent, the killing intent only tightly enveloped the 5 old men. It did not spread any further and did not affect the people down below at all. The 5 old men all became solemn. The strength of the killing intent from the man had caused them to tremble with fear. This was because it was pure killing intent accumulated from slaughtering countless lives, vastly different from the killing intent that originated from the heart. At this moment, they were flooded with disbelief from feeling such powerful and pure killing intent from a saint ruler. This was because what saint ruler worried most about was massacres. Otherwise, once they committed such a great sin, they would suffer celestial decay and lose their lives. However, what made them even more shocked was what the man had said. He actually knew about the relationship between the 5 of them and the Gilligan clan. The matter was a big deal because once it got out, the 5 of them would become the public enemies of the Tian Yuan continent. Not good, this person actually knows about our relationship with the Gilligan clan. This is extremely bad. Behind Old Man Matting, a 5th heavenly layer said with a soft voice. There's only one person. Let's move together. We have to kill him as soon as possible and not let him get away. Old Man Situ quickly made a decision. The staff in his hand immediately rushed towards the man with a great force. Do it together. Old Man Matting exclaimed with a deep voice and also materialized his saint weapon, rushing at the man. The man remained expressionless. Shortly afterwards, he actually disappeared suddenly, vanishing into thin air. In the next moment, a weird red glow appeared before Old Man Situ. It shot towards the center of Old Man Situ's eyebrows with lightning speed. As it approached Old Man Situ, it actually began to form many afterimages. From 1 to 2, 2 to 4 and 4 to 8, it transformed into a group of densely packed afterimages, surrounding Old Man Situ. Every afterimage contained the presence of a great energy, as if it possessed great offensive power. It was impossible to distinguish between the real and the fake. Old Man Situ shouted out loud, and vast, darkness-attributed saint force surged wildly from his body to protect his entire body. At the same time, the staff in his hands was coated with a layer of invisible world force. Old Man Situ swung the staff countless times, keeping the balls of red light at bay. Just when Old Man Situ began to tire from handling the balls of red light, the space before him ripped open. Another ball of red light slipped out from the crack, shooting towards the center of Old Man Situ's eyebrows with extreme speed. This time, Old Man Situ was unable to react at all. The ball of red light arrived before his forehead in the blink of an eye. At that crucial moment, Old Man Situ's head was jerked to one side, avoiding it dangerously. However, a shallow, bloody mark had already appeared on his face. He came within an inch of having a hole punched through his brain and an outcome of having his soul wiped out. Old Man Situ's expression became extremely dark. The opponent was also a 6th heavenly layer saint ruler, yet the way the person fought had already reached a level of perfection. It was extremely weird and almost impossible to guard again. He had almost died because of it. Be careful everyone, this person's attack is very weird. Old Man Situ broadcasted with a deep voice to alert everyone. The man appeared on the other side of Old Man Situ and the red ball of light that had left a bloody mark on Old Man Situ's face returned to his hand. It transformed into a long awl. However, the man began to move once again not long after. With a single movement, he transformed into many afterimages as he rushed at the 5 old men. He directly thrust the blood-red awl in his hand towards Old Man Situ. Old Man Situ had already raised his vigilance to the limit. He moved along with his 4 companions, all moving towards the man from different directions. The terrifying power from the saint weapon shook up the surrounding space to prevent the man from disappearing again. A bitter smile of mockery formed from the man's lips. He ignored the attacks from the 4 other people, locking tightly onto Old Man Situ. However, just at this moment, a change to the situation occurred. 3 balls of red light appeared strangely behind the 3 5th heavenly layer old men and passed through their backs with speed as swift as a lightning bolt. Afterwards, the 3 balls of red light immediately gathered together, rushing towards Old Man Matting with great speed. When the 3 5th heavenly layer old men were struck by the red light, they all vomited blood. They were swamped with disbelief. With their strength, they could not feel anything unusual behind them. The attack of the red balls of light seemed to appear out of nowhere. If they had not seen it with their eyes, they would struggle to believe it even existed. As the balls of red light passed through them, a strand of baleful force actually remained in their bodies. It constantly ate away at their vitality within their bodies, forcing the three of them to give up on their attacks and immediately use Saint Force to purge the baleful force from their bodies. On the other side, Old Man Situ and the man fought. The three balls of red light kept Matting busy. The balls of light were extremely fast, leaving behind several wounds on Old Man Matting's body with a few flashes. Also, there were strands of baleful force left behind in the wounds, constantly eating away at his injuries. This is baleful force. With a change in Old Man Matting's expression, he immediately backed off away from the three balls of red light. However, the three balls of light did not pursue him. They hung in the air, unmoving, and shortly afterwards, three other people in long, blood-red robes appeared beside the balls of light. They reached and grabbed the red balls of light unhurriedly. At this moment, the three balls of light could be seen clearly. They were actually all sharp, conical awls of finger thickness. They were completely the same. Seeing how three other blood-robed men had appeared, Old Man Situ, who was currently entangled with the first man, immediately felt gloomy. He immediately struck out powerfully, knocking the man away, before quickly retreating and reconvening with Old Man Matting and the three others. The four middle-aged men in long, blood-red robes did not pursue the five old men in battle. Instead, they stood in a row mid-air, holding on to the same blood-red awl in their hands. They stared at the five old men without any expression. The five old men stared at the four blood-robed men with ugly expression. When they saw the appearances of the four blood-robed men, a sliver of shock immediately appeared within their eyes. This was because not only were the attires and weapons of the four people the same, even their appearances were the same, without any differences whatsoever. "Who are you?" Old Man Situ yelled out with a deep voice again. He felt extremely curious about the identities of the four people. This time, the person who had appeared first did not remain silent. He said indifferently, "We are the four protectors of the Blood Sword sect." "What? The Blood Sword sect?" The expressions of the five old men changed greatly. They exclaimed out of surprise, "Disappeared 1,000 years ago, one of the three great assassination organizations, that Blood Sword sect?" Chapter 7:18, The Welling of Sorrow. Not only did the five elderly men know about the Blood Sword sect, they also knew just how powerful the Blood Sword sect was. It scared the five of them very much. "Not good, they're actually from the Blood Sword sect. Let's go." Old Man Matting exclaimed without any further thought. Before he had even finished speaking, he began to flee into the distance at a great speed. "Let's go." Old Man Situ yelled loudly and also began to flee. The remained 3/5 heavenly layer old men naturally did not dare to stay for any longer, fleeing into the distance almost simultaneously with Old Man Situ. "The sect master has orders to capture and kill the five of them. Pursue them." The man who had appeared first of the four said coldly. Afterwards, they all turned into streaks of red light simultaneously to pursue the five men, disappearing into the distance in the blink of an eye. Although the appearance of the four protectors from the Blood Sword sect had saved the Changyang clan, those in the Changyang clan did not feel a sense of joy from surviving the disaster. Instead, they were all heavy-hearted. The entire Changyang manor was flooded by a dense feeling of sorrow. The guards within the Changyang clan were frightened to death by what had happened. Immediately, some guards stumbled towards the outside of the manor with trembling legs, each with pale faces. Afterwards, more and more guards who feared death and did not want to be drawn into the matter all chose to leave. Most of them were guards who were hired by the Changyang clan with a lot of money. They worked at the Changyang clan, but they were not hell-bent on the job. If it were ordinary people, they would charge up without fearing death and massacre bravely, but the people the Changyan clan had provoked were saint rulers. Also, it was not just one saint ruler, but 5. They felt burdened by a great pressure, and with the death of Jian Chen's parents, Changyang Ba and Bayun Tian, they all believed the Changyang clan was utterly doomed this time. Although there was still the 4th young master who possessed a strength that could rival the saint rulers, they all believed that the odds really were against the 4th young master this time. The high-ranking members of the Changyang clan sensed the departure of the guards, but they did not stop any of them, allowing them to leave. Not long after, many of the guards, servants, and followers of the Changyang clan had left. Only around 400 royal guards stayed behind, as well as a few mercenaries and followers who were born and raised within the clan. The parents of the followers were all old members of the Changyang clan. Even some of their ancestors had always worked in the Changyang manor, so they were extremely loyal. Fourth sister, nothing must happen to you. Wake up, wake up. Jian Chen's second aunt, Yu Fengyan, leaned on Bai Yintian's corpse wailing. She constantly shook her body. In the surroundings, the older people of the Changyang clan remained silent. They all displayed a deep feeling of grief. Today, what happened definitely was an extremely heavy blow to the Changyang clan. The news of the Changyang clan disaster spread in all directions like wildfire. Very soon, it had covered a radius of several thousand kilometers, causing all those who heard it to be greatly astounded. Whilst everything was unfolding, Jian Chen was having a merry time with the 3rd prince, Qin Ji, in the Qinhuang kingdom. They sat a large, round table which was full of people, with around a dozen or so. However, other than Jian Chen and Qin Ji, the others were all female. They were all princesses of the Qinhuang kingdom or young ladies of great clans. All of them were extremely pretty, and even some of them seemed to be able to cause fish to drown just from their appearance. They were all famed beauties within the Qinhuang kingdom. The beauties had come for an obvious reason, perhaps because of the orders from elder members of their clans, or perhaps they just wanted to come themselves. Beside Jian Chen, the 2 princesses, Qin Shuang and Qi Mubing, sat close to Jian Chen. They smelt like orchids and constantly helped Jian Chen to wine and food. Their gazes at Jian Chen were filled with admiration and infatuation. Brother Jian Chen, I, Qin Ji, have lived at the Drifting Clouds Palace for 30 years, yet it's never been as lively as it is today. All these beauties and young ladies of great clans have gathered in my Drifting Clouds Palace. It's a great honor for my humble abode. Qin Ji chugged down a cup of good wine and laughed in a carefree manner which had originated from his joy. Although Jian Chen was already a saint ruler both in name and reality, he still remembered Qin Ji as a brother, even though his status was greatly different from before. It moved Qin Ji greatly. His brother, Jian Chen, was an imperial protector of the kingdom. With a relationship like that, Qin Ji would be full of confidence even when he spoke to his own father, the king. Qin Ji could even feel that his father now treated him very differently, and even the eminent dukes and ministers who held great power treated him much more courteously than before. Jian Chen's face carried a warm smile. He was a person who viewed friendship with great importance. Even though he did not have many sworn brothers, Qin Ji was one of them, so no matter how much he changed, he would never forget their relationship. After clinking glasses with Qin Ji, Jian Chen wanted to down the entire cup of good wine. However, just when the cup touched his lips, Jian Chen suddenly shook violently. A lot of the wine was split, dirtying his clothes. The 2 princesses sitting next to Jian Chen immediately pulled out their silk, fragrant handkerchiefs that had accompanied them for great times to gently wipe at the wine on Jian Chen's clothes. They said gently, "Young Master Jian Chen, you should slow down. Look, the wine's been splashed onto your clothes." Jian Chen did not pay any attention to the 2 princesses' voice. He slowly put down the cup and grasped his chest with his hand. His complexion began to change and his expression slowly became solemn. Feeling the change in Jian Chen, Qin Ji immediately showed an expression of concern and asked, "Brother Jian Chen, what's wrong?" Jian Chen did not reply. His eyebrows were tightly furrowed and his hand remained tightly pressed on his chest. This was because he suddenly felt a weird pain in his heart, and at the same time, his calm and immovable state of mind suddenly began to waver. He became perturbed and felt a great sense of unease and agitation flood his soul from deep within. What's happening? Just what's happening? What has happened? Jianshan mumbled to himself at a loss. He had never encountered such a situation, even when he faced against insurmountable foes or incoming dangers. He had never felt such a feeling before. Brother Jianshan, just what's happening to you? Qin Ji placed down his glass of wine and stared at Jianshan in confusion. I don't know. Why do I suddenly feel uneasy? Jianshan slowly stood up from his seat and paced around the palace. His eyebrows were tightly furrowed. He had no idea just what had happened. Around the table, all the famed beauties looked at each other. They did not know just what had happened to Jianshan. Suddenly, a gleam of light flashed across Jianshan's eyes. His expression immediately became grim and thought, perhaps something has happened at home? Thinking up to there, Jianshan's uneasiness became even stronger, causing him to change greatly in expression. A great wave of terror flooded his heart. The terror was not a type of fear brought on by undefeatable enemies, but a fear that extremely terrible things had happened. Brother Qin Ji, I must depart immediately. I will be bidding farewell first. Jianshan could not stay for any longer. He immediately bid farewell to Qin Ji, before apologizing to the famed beauties around the table. Afterwards, he hurried out of the Drifting Clouds Palace, rushing over to where the space gate was in the royal palace. Qin Ji did not urge Jianshan to stay. He stood in the Drifting Clouds Palace and watched as Jianshan departed into the distance. His expression was full of doubt, and shortly afterwards, he muttered to himself, perhaps something's happened to Jianshan's home? Jianshan's departure was very hurried. He did not even bid farewell to the king or the 4 imperial protectors, and instead directly got people to activate the space gate using his identity as an imperial protector. He passed through the gate and left the Qinhuang kingdom. As there was a destination set up for space gates outside Lore City in the Jessen kingdom, Jianshan directly arrived outside the city. When Jianshan arrived outside the city, he arrived right in the center of the camp of the Eastern Deity Swords. There were soldiers clad in silver armor patrolling everywhere. The opening of the space gate alerted the soldiers of the Eastern Deity Swords. Immediately, several people saw Jianshan exit the space gate, but they seemed to know who Jianshan was. After seeing him clearly, they all dropped to one knee and exclaimed, "We greet the Imperial Protector." In the blink of an eye, everyone in the surroundings knelt on one knee. Jianshan did not have the time to pay any attention to the soldiers. He immediately shot into the sky, flying towards Lore City. Jianshan descended from the sky in the Changyang manner. The moment his feet touched the ground, Jianshan seemed to have been petrified, standing there blankly and dumbstruck. In front of him, there was a ring of people composed of the elderly people and guards who had not left. As for the center of the ring, Bai Yuntian and Changyang Ba lay there, eyes closed and pale-faced. All the remaining people of the Changyang clan gathered there. None of them spoke, feeling great remorse within their hearts. The entire Changyang clan was enveloped by a great feeling of grief. It was less than 2 hours since the tragedy had occurred. Jianshan stared blankly in the direction of the people. Although the center of the crowd was covered up by the surrounding people, he seemed to be able to see through the obstruction and clearly observe what was inside. Chapter 719, Sorrow, Mother. Father. After a long while, 2 painful cries came from Jianshan. Jianshan slowly walked towards the group of people with trembling feet. It's the 4th young master's voice. The 4th young master has returned. The 4th young master is back. The guards that gathered together discovered Jianshan, who had appeared at a moment unbeknownst to them. They all cried out, but their voices were not filled joy like before, but rather grief and sorrow. A pathway immediately formed in front of Jianchen. He walked forwards with shaking steps before finally arriving in front of Bayuntian and Changyangba. Seeing parents on the ground, a deep feeling of sorrow filled Jianchen's soul. Mother! Father! Jianchen cried out sorrowfully. He wanted to cry his heart out. His eyes became bloodshot and blood-red tears welled up in his eyes, slowly flowing down his face. With his current strength, he naturally could feel that his parents were already dead. Even with the high-grade radiant spirit pills he possessed, he was unable to revive the two. Fourth young master, I am sorry. This old servant was useless, unable to properly protect the patriarch and the madam. Uncle Cheng arrived beside Jianchen with his shaking body. His face was pale and filled with self-blame. Jianchen did not say anything. He stared lifelessly at his parents' bodies while the tears of blood constantly flowed from his eyes. A while later, Jianchen's lifeless eyes finally regained some light, and closely afterwards, his gaze was aghast. He asked with a deep voice, "Just what has happened? Who has killed my parents?" Jianchen's voice was not loud, but it was icy cold. Even the surrounding temperature abruptly plummeted with what he said, becoming chilly. The surrounding guards and elderly people immediately felt a cold intent envelope their bodies, causing them to shiver without any control. At that current moment, although Jianchen did not give off any presence, he was like a death god to the surrounding people, unbelievably terrifying. Fourth young master, before, a few saint rulers came to our Changyang manor and said that they were looking for you. The patriarch and the fourth madam were killed by them. Uncle Cheng said sorrowfully, his tone gloomy. Jianchen tightly clenched his fists and a great killing intent erupted from his body. It seemed to cause the surrounding space to become sticky. Just at that moment, Jianchen suddenly raised his head and looked into the distance. He saw four blood-red figures heading over and around the four people. There was a powerful but concealed killing intent, orbiting slowly around the four of them. It was baleful force, condensed using a special method after killing countless life forms. Jianchen immediately felt that the four people were saint rulers and jumped to the conclusion that they were the people who murdered his parents. His eyes became filled with the gleam of vengeance and his gaze became horrifying. The chaotic Naiden with Jianchen's dantian began to tremble violently. Strands of chaotic force flowed unrelentingly from the chaotic Naiden, surging violently through Jianchen's body like wild horses. It filled every corner of Jianchen's body, and at the same time, a rocketing presence exploded from Jianchen. It surged into the sky, accompanied by powerful killing intent. It seemed to form a dark cloud in the sky. Arg! Jianchen gave out a long roar into the sky. His hair began to move even though there was no wind, dancing about madly. The dragon-slaying sword immediately appeared in his right hand, giving off a dark, beautiful glow. Suddenly, Jianchen surged into the sky. He shot towards the four red figures in the distance like a lightning bolt, wielding the dragon-slaying sword. Seeing Jianchen charge like a madman at them, the four blood-red figures came to a screeching stop. They floated mid-air, each with furrowed eyebrows. "Pay for my parents' life." Jianchen roared at the sky and swung the dragon-slaying sword at the four people. A powerful sword chi shot out of the sword, flying towards the four people carrying a presence of destruction with it. Wherever the sword chi passed by, it caused the space to crack, creating long, thin, pitch-black cracks that would repair in the blink of an eye. What is this power? Such strength! One of the red-clothed men exclaimed in surprise. Shortly afterwards, a long, blood-colored awl appeared in his hand. At the same time, a similar awl appeared in the hands of the other three people. They thrust out their awls simultaneously, which rushed at the sword chi from Jianchen with powerful baleful force. Boom! A loud sound of collision was created as the sword chi came together with the four red awls. A powerful ripple of energy transformed into a violent wind, wreaking havoc in the surrounding. The sword chi was immediately dispersed by the four awls. However, the baleful force surrounding the awls also grew much dimmer, before flying back into the four people's hands simultaneously. Jian Shen understood how strong the four people were, but he did not feel the slightest fear. He stared icily at the four people and a powerful and pure sword chi erupted from his body. Within it, there was a dense killing intent. "Stop, fourth young master, stop." At this moment, an old and feeble voice sounded from below. The pale-faced Uncle Chang used the energy of the world as he flew from the Changyang manor in a tottering fashion. He had suffered a blow from a saint ruler. Even though it was just a casual strike, his injury was very heavy. After just flying a little, the world energy that allowed his levitate quickly disappeared and he began to fall from the sky. The coldness in Jian Chen's eyes quickly decreased slightly. Seeing Uncle Chang fall from the sky, Jian Chen's expression suddenly changed and images of his childhood immediately floated through his head. Shortly afterwards, he ignored the four red-clothed men, fusing with the surrounding space to approach and catch Uncle Chang. A mouthful of blood sprayed from Uncle Chang's mouth, which dyed his old face blood red. With a slight thought, a few radiant spirit pills immediately flew out from Jian Chen's space ring, entering Uncle Chang's mouth. With the radiant spirit pills, Uncle Chang's condition stopped worsening and slowly regained stability. He looked at Jian Chen with a dull gaze and said powerlessly, "Fourth young master, it's not them who killed the patriarch and the fourth madam. If it were not for their sudden appearance which chased away the murderers, perhaps our Changyang clan will no longer have anyone alive." Hearing that, Jian Chen raised his head and looked at the four red-clothed men. The icy cold killing intent in his eyes slowly dispersed, and even the presence he gave off was slowly withdrawn. Without a single word, he carried Uncle Chang's body into the manor. At dusk, a lot of people had already gathered outside the manor. All the respected patriarchs within Lore City had all gone to the manor to express sympathy, and even some people of great clans of neighboring cities had come. However, all of them were kept outside. Under the fourth young master's orders, the entire manor was in a lockdown, refusing to receive any guests. Chapter 720. Determination. Now that the patriarch of the Changyang clan had passed away, Jian Chen had basically become the head of the clan. Even the older members of the clan agreed to it. Under Jian Chen's command, the Changyang manor had gone into lockdown, refusing to receive any guests. They locked all of the people from the great clans who had come to express sympathy outside, which caused the manor to be surrounded with people. Before the main entrance, it was so jam-packed that even water would struggle to flow through the crowd. Even though it was like that, those who were locked out did not dare to be resentful. Not to mention the fact that the genius of the clan was in there. The Changyang clan had encountered such a great disaster today, so even if they behaved unusually or even radically, it was understandable. Within the Changyang manor in a large room, it was currently full with people. Basically all the old people and members of the clan had gathered there. Before everyone was a luxurious bed, whereby Yuntian and Changyang Ba currently lay. Jian Chen sat blankly beside the bed. His dull eyes stared at his dead parents and he seemed to be petrified, unable to move at all. Behind Jian Chen, the sheet-white faces of Jian Chen's first and third aunt were covered with tears. They stood there silently and sorrowfully, while Jian Chen's second aunt had already cried to the point where her eyes had become red and swollen. On the side, Changyang Hu sat in a wheelchair, staring calmly at the two people on the bed. Changyang Hu was the only person who remained calm about Changyang Ba and Bai Yuntian's death. However, the emotions in his eyes varied constantly, sometimes stricken with grief, sometimes sorrowful, sometimes lost, sometimes melancholy, sometimes dull and sometimes calm. Almost all the emotions of people flashed across Changyang Hu's eyes. At that moment, no one knew what Changyang Hu was thinking. Even though the large and luxurious room was filled with people, it was unusually silent. The atmosphere was extremely heavy. The news about the deaths of the Changyang clan patriarch and Changyang Xiangtian's mother continued to spread further. On the second day, the king of Jessen Kingdom had arrived at the manor with commander of the imperial guards, Biyao, under the accompaniment of a heaven saint master. 2 hours later, the principal of Kargath Academy, Kafir, had also come to the Changyang clan. Afterwards, basically all the respected people within the Jessen kingdom had gathered in Lore City. What happened with the Changyang clan created a very great commotion. The people had come to confirm the reality of the news, as well as to express sympathy. However, those people were all denied entry without any exceptions. They were unable to enter the clan, while only the king and principal who close ties with the clan were allowed in. Sister, brother will definitely avenge you. No matter how strong the opponent is, as long as brother is alive, brother will definitely avenge you. Looking at Bai Yuntian who lay on the bed, Bai Dao's expression became extremely sorrowful. His fists were already clenched, his unsharp nails actually deeply piercing into his palms, which caused his 2 hands to bleed. Meanwhile, the sliver of a recollection appeared in the depths of his eyes. He could not help but think about the moment when he had fled with his sister over 20 years ago. In that moment, Bai Dao had already secretly made the decision. In the future, he would spend all his efforts in raising his strength. In the blink of an eye, another day passed. On that day, Yu Yu, Bai Lian, Jetta Tai, Nubis, Bai Hai, and Huang Wan had all come to the Changyang clan from the faraway flame mercenaries, along with Tianmu Ling from the Tianmu clan and the 8th heavenly layer Saint King Old Woman. The old woman swept her gaze across the manor. She seemed to be able to see through the walls, observing everything clearly within the manor. She sighed gently in her heart and thought, just who did this Jian Chen offend to actually have several saint rulers to move against his parents and do such despicable things? Sigh, this time, Linger didn't hold back and even got the old man to help guard the flame mercenaries. Looks like Jian Chen's status in Linger's heart is greater than normal. However, my Tianmu clan has helped Jian Chen greatly this time, and I don't think Jian Chen will forget. The matter about the tungsten alloy mine should be easier to handle now. The old man thought of by the old woman was Tianmu Ling's grandpa Jun. He was a powerful 9th heavenly layer saint ruler, and was an old couple with Tianmu Ling's grandma Wang. After understanding the situation with Bai Yuntian and Changyang Ba, Bai Lian and Yu Yu became extremely sad, especially Bai Lian. She became so stricken with grief that she fainted. As for Bai Hai, the founder of the Bai family, he struggled to suppress his rage and declared on the spot that he would personally tear the 5 murders to pieces. After all, Bai Yuntian was one of the few descendants of the Bai family. Her departure caused great sorrow to Bai Hai. The Changyang clan did not hold a glorious funeral for Changyang Ba and Bai Yuntian. The older members constantly brought it up, but they were all shot down by Jian Chen. They all felt extremely helpless. Jian Chen stayed within the room for 3 days and only then did his state of mind recover from the rage and sorrow from before, returning to calmness. 3 days later, most of the people had already left the room with only a few remaining. Jian Chen finally moved from the posture he had held for 3 days. He walked up to the bed step by step, and gently pulled up the blankets for his parents. He said softly, "Mother, Father, I will definitely revive you." Jian Chen's gaze suddenly became resolute. He knew that not only did powerful radiant saint masters possess the power of regrowing limbs, they would even revive the dead. Hearing what Jian Chen said, the perplexed gaze of Changyang Hu quickly disappeared. It was replaced by peace, without any sorrow or any joy. It did not even seem to carry any signs of emotion, becoming terrifyingly calm. "Brother, it'll be all up to you for father and 4th aunt," Changyang Hu said softly to Jian Chen. Jian Chen stared deeply into his brother's eyes. He nodded and said, "Brother, don't worry. I swear that I'll revive mother and father." In that moment, Jian Chen's decision to go to the Holy Empire to break through Class 6 became even more resolute. Jian Chen comforted the grieving Bai Lian slightly, before leaving the room. When he arrived in the guest room, he immediately met Tianmu Ling and the old woman. However, Jian Chen just was not in the mood to discuss with them at that moment. He left the room after just some small conversation, going outside to catch some fresh air. Outside, Jian Chen's gaze suddenly gathered and landed on the four middle-aged men in blood-red clothes close by. The four men currently stood beside each other with their eyes closed and arms crossed. Although they stood ordinarily there, they seemed to carry the presence of the world, as if they were fused with the world. The guards of the Changyang clan all knew how powerful the four men were, so even though the Changyang manor was in lockdown, they did not dare to chase away the four men. During that time, some of clan elders even went up courteously to thank them, but the four men were very cold. They did not pay any attention to the elders expressing gratitude, not even opening their eyes. Jian Chen stared and observed the four red-clothed men. From the identical appearances of the four people, he could already roughly guess that if the four had not undergone any manipulation in appearance, there were definitely rarely seen quadruplets. Chen did not know the identity of the four men. However, they had saved the Changyang clan when it was in trouble and helped the Changyang clan avoid a tragedy, which made Jian Chen feel grateful. Just when Jian Chen went up to thank the four of them, they suddenly opened their eyes and looked at Jian Chen simultaneously. There were no emotions in their eyes at all, only coldness and indifference. Jian Chen, the four of us have waited until now is because the sect master has sent you a message. The Gilligan clan king has already sent several powerful humans against you, and he wants you to be more careful. Jian Chen heard a cold and indifferent voice. This was the voice transmission that only saint rulers could use. As soon as the message reached the end, the four men seemed to have a spiritual connection, turning into streaks of red light and rushing into the sky. They disappeared into the horizon in the blink of an eye. Jian Chen's expression became serious. He gazed deeply at the horizon where the four men had disappeared. The light within his eyes flickered, while his complexion fluctuated. Just who are those four people? Who is the sect master they speak of, and why do they know that the Gilligan clan king wants to deal with me? Perhaps they already know about the winged tiger god? Jian Chen constantly thought about those questions, before having images of the mercenary city grand elder Tian Jian and the mysterious Uncle Xiao flash through his mind. However, he remained unsure. As for Uncle Xiao, Jian Chen had already thought that he was a saint ruler before, because he possessed the abilities of saint rulers. However, after becoming a saint ruler, this notion began to waver, because Jian Chen had always been guessing at Uncle Xiao's strength. Jian Chen had never been sure whether Uncle Xiao was a saint ruler or something above a saint ruler. Uncle Xiao always brought an unfathomable but extremely ordinary feeling to Jian Chen. Chapter 721, The Bloodsword Sect's History. Jian Chen stared silently in the direction where the four red-clothed men had disappeared for a long time. His eyes constantly flickered, displaying uncertainty. Fourth young master, we should stop grieving. The patriarch and the fourth madam have already passed away. We should quickly hold a funeral for them. At this moment, an old man arrived beside Jian Chen and said softly to him. The old man was an elder of the Changyang clan, possessing the strength of an earth saint master. Jian Chen restrained his thoughts and shook his head gently. He said, "There's no need for a funeral, mother and father aren't dead. I will definitely revive them." Hearing that, the old man sighed. He thought that Jian Chen had become overly stricken in grief that he became slightly confused. "Elder, just who are the four people who just left?" Jian Chen asked softly. His tone was very indifferent, without any signs of emotions. The old man thought slightly before speaking out. "Fourth young master, I'm not sure who the four people are. However, I think I heard that they're people from some Bloodsword sect." The Bloodsword sect. Jian Chen muttered with a low voice. A sliver of doubt flashed across his eyes. He was extremely unfamiliar with the name of the sect. After hesitating for a while, Jian Chen left from the place, going to the gardens of the Changyang manor. He saw that the ancestor of the Bai family, Bai Hai, was currently sitting in the pavilion of the garden by himself, drinking to drown his sorrows. Jian Chen gazed at the Bai family ancestor with a complicated expression. He knew that what happened to his mother also made the ancestor rather pained. After all, the current Bai family was no longer the Bai family of the past. In other words, every descendant of the Bai family was beloved and treasured by Bai Hai. Grandfather. Jian Shen arrived in the pavilion and sat opposite of Bai Hai. Bai Hai placed down his glass of wine and raised his head to look at Jian Shen. Through Jian Shen's peaceful gaze, he could already tell that Jian Shen had gotten over the pain from a few days ago. Bai Hai sighed softly and said, "Grandson, preserve your parents' bodies well. You're already a Class 6 Radiant Saint Master. Once you reach Class 7, you should have the power to revive your parents." As he finished speaking, Bai Hai poured himself another full glass of wine and downed the whole thing. Jian Shen nodded and said, "Grandfather, grandson has something to ask you. Does grandfather know about the Blood Sword sect?" Hearing the two words, a gleam of light immediately flashed across Bai Hai's eyes. He stared at Jian Shen with shining eyes and said sternly, "Grandson, where did you learn about the Blood Sword sect? The four middle-aged men from before should be people of the Blood Sword sect." Jian Shen replied. "What? They're from the Blood Sword sect?" Bai Hai was slightly surprised, though he recovered shortly afterwards. He mumbled, "No wonder the four of them always had such a thick layer of baleful force. That should be from killing countless people and condensed using a special method. So they're actually from the Blood Sword sect." A sliver of recollection appeared in Bai Hai's eyes as the past flashed across his mind in the form of images. He slowly finished off his glass of wine and said slowly, "I indeed do know some things about the Blood Sword sect, though it's very limited. The Blood Sword sect is one of 3 well-known assassination organizations of the Tianyuan continent. They place second of the 3. Not only are they extremely mysterious, their strength is rather great too, standing above hermit clans and on level ground with ancient clans. However, 1,000 years ago, there was a great war between the 3 assassination organizations for some reason, and after the war, the Blood Sword sect completely disappeared from the Tianyuan continent. Afterwards, they never appeared again. I just never thought that the 4 of them were actually from the Blood Sword sect." "Grandpa, then do you know who the sect master of the Blood Sword sect is?" Jian Shen asked. Since the 4 experts were sent by the sect master of the Blood Sword sect, the sect master definitely would have some connection with Jian Shen. Otherwise, why would the sect appear once again from vanishing for 1,000 years, and why would they help him and prevent a disastrous calamity for the Changyang clan? Bai Hai shook his head. "In that age, I was just a mere heaven saint master. With the status of the Blood Sword sect master and the mysterious history of the sect, where would I get the right to learn the sect master's name? Not many people know the sect master's name on the Tianyuan continent, though I just happen to be one of them." At this moment, an old voice echoed from somewhere nearby. Jian Shen saw the old woman referred to as Grandma Wang by Tian Muling slowly make her way towards the pavilion with her cane. Jian Shen and Bai Hai both stood up immediately, clasping their hands at the old woman at the same time. "I greet Senior." Wang Yanhong chuckled, "No need to be so polite. I've eavesdropped the conversation between the two of you without permission, so please forgive me. However, I do know quite some things about the Blood Sword sect you've mentioned, Jian Shen." Jian Shen hurried to invite the old woman into the pavilion courteously. He had already learnt that the Flame Mercenaries encountered a disaster from the people who had come over from the mercenaries. Even newbies, Bai Hai and Jetta Tai were heavily injured. The old woman in front of him had lent a helping hand in the very end, which saved the mercenaries. As a result, Jian Shen was extremely grateful towards the old woman. "Senior, please tell me about the Blood Sword sect." As soon as the old woman sat down, Jian Shen asked impatiently. The old woman smiled benevolently and said, "Jian Shen, before I tell you about the Blood Sword sect, I have something to discuss about with you. Before, I helped you repel the enemies at the Flame Mercenaries and saved your relatives and friends. However, I haven't done it for nothing. Since I've helped you, there naturally will be a reciprocation. Jian Shen, you must remember that you owe me a favor." Jian Shen became serious. He said sternly, Senior, Junior will never forget your kindness. A drop of kindness will be returned as a fountain. If there are any areas where Senior would need Jianchen, Junior will do everything he can. Jianchen will never purposely evade this. Jianchen just could not imagine the outcome of the flame mercenaries if the old woman had not helped out when they were assaulted by the 5 saint rulers. Although his relatives and friends would not die, they would definitely fall into position between a rock and a hard place. Hearing what Jianchen had said, Wang Yanhong smiled. Then I'll tell you about the Bloodsword sect next. The Bloodsword sect is a powerful assassination organization on the Tianyuan continent. It has already been around for several tens of thousand years and possesses strength that is equal to ancient clans. The method they practice uses slaughter to increase their strength. Every time they kill a person, they will condense a strand of baleful Yin force. The more they kill, the thicker the baleful Yin force they can condense. Not only is the force able to stun people, causing them to become all sluggish temporarily, it can also wipe out people's soul. They can kill without any signs, which is a worry to all people on the Tianyuan continent. However, the baleful Yin force of the Bloodsword sect also has a great disadvantage, that it's a consumable. If they use too much, they can only replenish it through slaughtering people. As a result, baleful Yin force is only used often by those below Heaven Saint Master, while saint rulers rarely ever use it against their opponent, unless it's a moment of life or death. Saint rulers are restrained by celestial decay, unable to conduct massacres, so their baleful Yin force decreases as they use it without any way of replenishing it. However, when saint rulers of the Bloodsword sect do happen to use baleful Yin force, they can kill saint rulers with just a single strike, unless the opponent is just overly powerful. This is their greatest life-saving tactic. Speaking up to there, a sliver of dread appeared in the depths of Wang Yanhong's eyes. Is that so? No wonder I felt the thick baleful Yin force around them. It must have been condensed before they became saint rulers. Jianchen thought. He could not help but think back to the 4 red-clothed men. But 1,000 years ago, something happened between the 3 great assassination organizations. It was caused by the Bloodsword sect master of that generation. He possessed great talent, becoming a great 9th heavenly layer saint king in just a few thousand years. He became the only expert who was infinitesimally close to being a saint emperor from the Bloodsword sect, and because of him, the Bloodsword sect rose greatly in power. They became a sect that completely overtook ancient clans, an existence that could rival the 10 guardian clans. Reaching such a level in strength, the sect master also became one of the few great experts of the Tianyuan continent. As a result, he came up with the idea of unifying all assassination organizations. This led to the other 2 assassination organizations forming a treaty and going to war against the Bloodsword sect. However, the sect master back then was already standing on the apex. Even on the entire Tianyuan continent, only Mercenary City, the 10 guardian clans and the Lord of the Carnal Desire Way could rival him. Although the other 2 assassination organizations formed a treaty, they still failed to handle the Bloodsword sect. Even the leaders of the 2 organizations were injured by the sect master, causing the organization to arrive at the brink of destruction. But just at that moment, something unfortunate happened. The other 2 organizations actually schemed and baited out the sect master's partner and killed her in an ambush. Her soul was wiped out and utterly destroyed, which even prevented powerful radiant saint masters to revive her. The partner was found by the sect master before he reached Saint King, so she held an extremely great position in the sect master's heart. Also, before she had died, she was actually pregnant. The death of his partner dealt a heavy blow to the sect master. In just a night, the sect master's appearance underwent an upheaving change. His 20-odd-year-old, handsome appearance which he always maintained became old in just a night. Even his dark hair turned silvery gray. Afterwards, the sect master used 10,000-year-old heavenly resources to revive the child in his partner's womb. He went to the 2 organizations with just his fallen partner and young son and held a mad massacre in vengeance. In that battle, the sect master caused damage that was capable of ending both organizations. All the powerful members of the organizations died in the hands of the sect master, heavily weakening both organizations. After that had happened, the Blood Sword sect, renowned on the entire continent, disappeared from the Tian Yuan continent. The sect master never appeared on the continent again, without any trace at all. He seemed to just have vanished, with no one knowing his whereabouts. During that period, there were many rumors. Some said that the sect master had fallen from celestial decay due to the great massacre he had committed. Some said that the sect master had become overwhelmed with grief and went on to follow his dead wife. There were also others who said the sect masters had already retired from the continent, living a life of no worldly affairs. But no matter how exaggerated the rumors were, the sect master has never showed up on the continent even until now. No one knows whether he's retired or gone to chase after his wife. Senior, then do you know the name of the sect master? Jian Chen's tone was rather urgent. Wang Yanhong thought back for a while and said, I learnt the name of the sect master from the ancestor of the Tianmu clan. His name is Xiao Houston. Chapter 722, The Mysterious Group in the Mountain Range of Magical Beasts, Xiao Houston. Jian Chen muttered. A gleam of light exploded in his eyes while in his mind, he could not help but think of Uncle Xiao's old but straight body. Xiao Houston, Uncle Xiao. The sect master of the Blood Sword sect actually has the same surname as Uncle Xiao from Longevity Valley. Perhaps they're the same people? Jian Chen thought. He could not help but think of the moment and Uncle Xiao had first seen the small white tiger. Thinking of the tiger, Jian Chen could not help but look at his shoulder. He only saw the snow-white tiger fast asleep, curled up on his shoulder like a small cat. It was digesting the medicinal effects deposited in his body by the heavenly resources. Afterwards, Jian Chen looked at the powerful Wang Yanhong. He only saw Wang Yanhong stare at him with a flickering gaze, completely ignoring the white tiger on his shoulder. She clearly was unable to discern the white tiger's true identity. Jian Chen, perhaps you've seen the sect master of the Blood Sword sect? Wang Yanhong's eyes glowed with curiosity, and stared deeply at Jian Chen. Wang Yanhong had also seen the 4 red-clothed men who had appeared at the Changyang Manor, and had already guessed their identities from the thick baleful force they gave off. They were people of the Blood Sword sect that had disappeared 1,000 years ago, and they were not weak. They clearly held a certain status within the sect. Wang Yanhong was also extremely curious about why the Blood Sword sect had come to the Changyang Manor. She wanted to know the answer. Her first guess was that Jian Chen had some connection with the Blood Sword sect. Jian Chen shook his head. Senior, I've only learnt about the Blood Sword sect today, let alone knowing the sect master. Although he had put it in such a way, images of Uncle Xiao constantly floated through his mind. Jian Chen always felt that Uncle Xiao was extremely profound, and he shared the same surname with the Blood Sword sect master. Also, Uncle Xiao's family situation matched up extremely well with what the sect master had suffered. He had no partner, only a son and a grandson. Jian Chen just did not know how old Xiaomi was. Also, only the Grand Elder of Mercenary City and Uncle Xiao could tell the White Tiger's identity with a glance up until now. That was enough to show Uncle Xiao's extraordinaire. Though, Jian Chen only guessed that the Blood Sword sect master might have some connection with Uncle Xiao. He had yet to confirm it. Leaving the garden, Jian Chen immediately spent a great amount to buy a 1,000-year ice coffin, which he placed his parents' corpses inside. Although powerful radiant saint masters could revive the dead, the bodies had to remain in a good condition. Jian Chen stayed in the Changyang Manor for 7 days. In those 7 days, the Changyang Manor was always overcast by a cloud of gloominess, and after the 7 days, many of those who had come to express sympathy had already left. There was barely anyone left, but they still had not taken a single step into the manor. 7 days later, Jian Chen had gotten over his sorrow. However, what had happened to his parents left an irremovable mark on Jian Chen. It caused him to become colder, always with a stern expression. All the smiles he possessed had disappeared. On that day, Jianchen bid farewell to the people there. He departed from the Changyang manor with the ice coffins that carried his parents. He was about to go on a long journey and only feared that a careless accident would happen to his parents' bodies. As a result, he needed to find a safe place to keep the coffins that could guarantee that nothing would happen. Only like that could he leave without any worries. Although ice coffins could be placed into spatial rings, Jianchen did not do that. He was already a powerful saint ruler, but he still had enemies on the Tianyuan continent. Also, the 5 saint rulers were currently pursuing him. If anything were to happen to him, his parents would never see the day of light again. Time could blunt everything. After 7 days of buffering from the tragedy that had occurred with the Changyang clan, it had already begun to settle down. Meanwhile, Jianchen instead carried the ice coffins, and soared high up in the sky. He hurried to Qinhuang Kingdom as he planned to keep his parents' bodies in the Qin Heaven Palace, a place that belonged to him to live in. On the same day, Jianchen's uncle, Biyao, resigned from his post as the commander of the Imperial Guards. He left Jessan Kingdom on a Class 4 magical beast mount all by himself. In that period of time, Biyao had thought everything through. He wanted to quickly increase his strength, and other than training hard and tempering himself through life or death situations, only the baptism of blood could help him. His nephew was the best example. If he remained blindly within the imperial palace, he did not even know how much time it would take for him to become a heaven saint master. Jianchen passed through the space gate at Dazhou Kingdom and returned to the Qinhuang Kingdom. Afterwards, he placed his parents' coffins in the Qin Heaven Palace, entrusting them to the protection of the other 4 imperial protectors. The king of Qinhuang Kingdom and Qin Ji also felt rather heavy-hearted towards the death of Jianchen's parents. They properly consoled Jianchen. However, under Jianchen's forceful request, the situation with his parents was not announced. Only a very few people within the kingdom knew about it. After he placed down his parents, Jianchen then had a secret conversation with the 4 other imperial protectors elsewhere in the palace. Afterwards, he departed from the kingdom the next day, and traveled to Dazhou Kingdom through the space gate. Afterwards, Jianchen visited the Tianqin clan to see Qin Shao once again. Jianchen originally planned to have Qin Shao go with the flame mercenaries to train him, but now with all that had happened with the mercenaries and the fact that he was about to depart from them, he could only give up on the idea of taking Qin Shao away. This was due to the fact that the flame mercenaries were facing a great challenge, even though they possessed a certain level of strength. The mercenaries were no longer safe, so taking Qin Shao there perhaps would only bring troubles for him. Also, because of the winged tiger god, the flame mercenaries would definitely be into the matter sooner or later, and even the Changyang clan would not escape it. If he got Qin Shao to join the mercenaries, it was undoubtedly throwing him into a fire. If something bad happened, it would even pull the Tianqin clan into it. The reason why Jianchen thought like this was because he had a strong premonition. Once the news of the winged tiger god got out, he would probably become a public enemy of the continent. Leaving the Tianqin clan, Jianchen directly returned to the Jessan Kingdom. Afterwards, he called Jie Tai and Nubis. He told the 2 about the Holy Empire, as well as what the imperial protectors of the Qinhuang Kingdom had requested. When he heard what Jianchen said, Nubis declined it straight away, without any additional thought. Jianchen, you definitely must not drag me into it. Each of the 3 great clans of the Holy Empire have saint kings and possess the strength of ancient clans. They cannot be underestimated. Also, I, the great Nubis, have nothing to do with the Holy Kingdom. Their infighting has nothing to do with me, so I, the great Nubis, definitely will not be dragged into this. It's basically a hellhole. Whoever jumps in will suffer losses. Jianchen was not very surprised with Nubis' declination. He then looked towards Jie Tai. Jie Tai maintained a neutral expression. He said extremely indifferently, Jianchen, I've already pledged my loyalty to you. Even my life is yours, so I abide to anything you say. Jianchen nodded but did not say anything more. Jie Tai's behavior had allowed him to rise to a great place in Jian Chen's mind. Jian Chen thought to himself for a while before speaking, "Nubis has put it well. You indeed don't need to be dragged into the infighting of the Holy Empire. If something goes wrong, it'll just cause more problems for you, and there might even be an outcome that is death. Whatever, the two of you should stay and stand guard, to protect the Changyang Manor and the Flame mercenaries. I'll be departing tomorrow. Jian Chen, you don't need to participate in this difficult and arduous matter." Nubis attempted to persuade Jian Chen, but before he had even finished, he was cut off by Jian Chen's hand. Chapter 723, Heading to the Holy Empire. Although the mysterious group in the depths of the mountain range of magical beasts outside Wake City was no longer a secret, so much time had already passed that no one knew the identity of this mysterious group. During that time, there were a few more powerful clans and mercenaries groups that wanted to subdue the group. However, all of them failed without any exceptions. The mysterious group seemed to be immune to greed, no matter how great of a condition proposed, and no matter how great of a temptation given. It was unable to move any member of the mysterious group. They seemed to be completely immune to wealth and power. The sky was covered with dark clouds. A muffled thunder rumbled in the sky, and echoed across the entire world. It was noon, but everywhere had already become dark. Not long afterwards, pea-sized raindrops fell madly from the sky. The world began to pour with rain, and the originally bustling Wake City immediately became cold, with no one on the streets to be seen. There was only rain, and it washed the dirty streets created by the mercenaries. At that moment, in the peaceful sky above Wake City, a crack suddenly appeared in the dense, dark clouds. A sliver of blue light shone through it, and underneath the thick clouds, a person appeared out of nowhere. Thunder rumbled in the sky. A flash of lightning shot across the sky with dazzling radiance, and created a web below the clouds. The person wore light blue, long robes. When the surrounding rain approached him, it was dispersed by an invisible force, unable to reach him at all. He stood underneath the lightning, and observed the area below. He seemed to ignore the deafening thunder and streaks of lightning from the surroundings, similar to a god. He was Jian Chen, who had come from Jessen Kingdom. Jian Chen floated in the sky. His presence enveloped the entire city, and after a while, he slowly opened his eyes. Through the mist in the distance, he could vaguely see the mountain range. He mumbled to himself, "If they're not in the city, then they must be in the mountain range." As soon as he finished speaking, Jian Chen turned into an afterimage, and disappeared from the sky. He had already flown to the mountain range that was 10 kilometers away with a speed almost invisible to the naked eye. In the depths of the mountain range, a dozen or so large tents were set up under a towering old tree. Outside the tent, there were several big, bare-chested men standing in the rain, keeping guard. Their swift and forceful gazes were filled with a fierce light. They clearly were not simple people. At that moment, in the most center tent, there were 9 people around a large round table, eating roast magical beast meat as they talked. "Seniorin, Yunzheng, it's all thanks to your help that my brothers could escape, terrified but unharmed from the magical beasts." An old man raised a glass of wine and said sincerely to the big man and gentle-looking middle-aged man who sat on the opposite side. Kai Er, you don't need to thank me. Yunzheng and I were secretly sent by Captain Jian Chen to protect you. Captain Jian Chen's request was that every single one of you needed to remain alive under no exceptions. Originally, Yunzheng and I always protected you from the shadows, but who thought that after you guys became Earth Saint Masters, you actually discovered us? Seniorin laughed aloud, his bald head gleaming. Seniorin has put it correctly. Protecting you was only our orders, but now you guys have all become Earth Saint Masters, and also mastered a wondrous technique that can make people's battle capability increase by several-fold abruptly. Also, every one of you have battle skills, and your overall strength is not any weaker than the 2 of us. If we continue to stay here, we won't be of use anyway. Yunzheng said with a smile. Those people were the core members of the flame mercenaries that Jian Chen initially then into the mountain range to train. Every single one of them was undergoing life or death training and was extremely loyal. They were reliable, as well as the first group of elites that Jian Chen really trusted and spent a great fortune in raising. When Jian Chen left before, he left behind great amounts of monster cores and various battle skills. After the period of training and growth, every single member underwent an upheaving growth in strength. 7 of them had even become Earth Saint Masters, while the remaining dozen or so had reached Great Saint Master. There were no longer any Saint Masters. Listening to what Yunjing said, the people in the tent all pondered silently. Charles said, "Brother Yunjing is right. This mountain range of magical beasts is just too small, with the strongest magical beasts only being Class 5. In this period of time, there aren't many Class 5 magical beasts left after we killed a few. With our current strength, it's pointless to stay any longer. My brothers have already gotten a good grasp with the human tier battle skills, and with the heaven's stolen fortune from Captain, they can easily kill magical beasts that are much stronger than them. The magical beasts here no longer for any threat to us. It's just a pity that Captain is not here. Without his orders, we can't just leave here," Qingfeng said with a soft voice. After the period of violent magical beast huntings, Qingfeng had already become the person who improved the fastest in the group. Not only was he the first one to become an Earth Saint Master, he had reached the second cycle just a few days ago. Other than Yunjing and Seniorin, he was the strongest in the group. Although the group of people did not possess the talents of great geniuses, their body constitution had already been improved by the 1,000-year-old 100-grass wine from Jianchen. It allowed them to cultivate at speeds much greater than ordinary people, and with the period of hard training, every single one of them had great improvements. Only if the Captain was here. Ever since we've entered the depths of the mountain range, we haven't left. We don't know much about the situation outside. Mo Tian sighed. He could not help but think of a handsome, righteous face. Just at this moment, a grand presence suddenly descended from outside. Although the presence was gentle, unable to cause any harm to people, it carried a feeling of vast endlessness, as if it represented the world. Even Earth Saint Masters felt weak like ants before the presence. What a immovable presence. Everyone within the tent suddenly became alert. They then threw away the cups in their hands, hurrying out from the tent. Rain continued to pour outside and the sky was gloomy. Yunjing, Seniorin and the members of the Flame Mercenaries who recently became Earth Saint Masters all came out of the central tent together, and allowed themselves to be drenched in rain. At the same time, various other people came out one by one from the surrounding tents. They quickly arrived behind Yunjing and the others, and looked around with solemn expressions. They were looking for the source of the presence. In just the time of a breath, the core members of the Flame Mercenaries who had originally entered the mountain range to train had all gathered together. Just at that moment, a pale blue light slashed the horizon in half. It flew over the distance like a lightning bolt, and headed right in the direction where the Flame Mercenaries were. "Everyone be careful, the person's a Heaven Saint Master." Everyone's expression was filled with vigilance. Meanwhile, a thumb-sized piece of jade had already appeared in Senior Anne's hand. The blue figure that had cut through the sky stopped before the mercenaries in the end, floating above. There, everyone could see his appearance. Observing him clearly, everyone was slightly surprised. Their vigilant expressions immediately disappeared, replaced by expressions of joy and excitement. "Captain! It's the Captain! The Captain's returned!" Everyone cried out in excitement. They were clearly elated with Jian Chen's arrival, and afterwards, they all kneeled on one knee to welcome Jian Chen. Jian Chen's long, blue robes shook about in the violent wind, his towering body remained dry from the rain. He looked slowly at the large men below, and a faint smile appeared on his expressionless face. He said, "Not bad, well done. Looks like you've all improved greatly during this period of time." Jian Chen slowly descended, and with a thought, an invisible force immediately flooded the surroundings, pulling everyone up off the ground. Jian Shen was courteously invited into the central tent by several Earth Saint Masters. Afterwards, they gave a general report of what had happened during the years to Jian Shen. Yes, well done. Chapter 724, Surprise Visit from Uncle Xiao. The hot, blazing sun hung in the center of the sky, and radiated with bright light. The terrifying heat radiating from it scattered downwards, and roasted the ground below to a boiling hot temperature. In the center of an endless desert, an obscure figure shot through the sky like a lightning bolt, and reached the horizon in the blink of an eye. As Jian Shen flew, he looked at the golden desert below him. He mumbled, according to the distance on the map, there should be another 2 hours before I pass through this desert. Afterwards, I need to travel for another 2 days before arriving at the Holy Empire. No matter if it was from the Qinhuang Kingdom or the Jessan Kingdom, the Holy Empire was extremely distant. Even with Jian Shen's speed, he needed to spend a dozen or so days on the road to reach the Empire from Jessan Kingdom. Although Jian Shen could use the space gate in Qinhuang Kingdom to directly travel to the Holy Empire millions of kilometers away, he did not do so because he already learned some things about the Holy Empire from Biyao and the 4 imperial protectors of the Qinhuang Kingdom, including information about reaching Class 7 as a Class 6 Radiant Saint Master. If Radiant Saint Masters wanted to reach Class 7, they needed to borrow the Saint Artifact in the Holy Empire. Also, the Holy Artifact would not be used at any moment. There was a set time for every time it activated, and from its next activation, there was a 1.5 years of downtime. As a result, Jian Shen did not need to hurry to save time, which was why he chose flying as the transportation to reach the Empire. As he traveled, he could admire the surrounding scenery, and it carried along with it a feeling of being carefree and leisurely. Jian Shen flew over countless mountains and rivers, as well as large, bustling cities. Finally, he entered the borders of the Holy Empire. Of the 3 empires of the continent, the Holy Empire was the most powerful. The area it covered was also extremely great, over 100 times bigger than the Jessan Kingdom. Its population had also reached a shocking level, with over 100 million people. To the Jessan Kingdom's population of a few dozen million, it was like comparing an elephant with an ant. The Holy Empire had 3 capital cities. The capital cities were all controlled by the 3 great clans, with each clan controlling 1 city. As for the imperial city, it was the capital city located closest to the center, the City of God. Towards the edge of the border, there was a bustling first-class city. At that very moment in the distance, there was a young man in light blue robes who traveled unhurriedly towards the city on a Class 4 magical beast. The young man was Jian Shen, of course. Upon entering the Holy Empire, he did not continue his hurried journey. He decided to first enter the city and learn about the local customs and news. After all, Jian Shen was extremely unfamiliar with the Holy Empire. He needed to grasp some more accurate information step by step. As Jian Shen entered the first-class city on his Class 4 magical beast slowly, he toured the wide streets. He arrived in front of a relatively large restaurant. He tied up his magical beast mount, before he strode into the restaurant. "Sir, welcome to our aromatic guest house. The dishes of our aromatic guest house are made by the best chefs of the entire city, and we have the prettiest female waiters too. We guarantee that Sir will be satisfied. Sir, please come in and take a seat." A waiter immediately went up to receive Jian Shen, inviting him in with a smile. Jian Shen entered the restaurant and looked around. He decided to find a quiet place to sit down, but shortly afterwards, his gaze landed on an old man who sat in a corner. His eyes widened from shock, while he revealed an expression of disbelief. The old man wore gray, long robes, and his gray hair was tied behind his back with a piece of string. He currently sat in front of a table full of dishes, enjoying the wine and food slowly. The old man seemed extremely ordinary and did not attract anyone's attention. However, it essentially stupefied Jian Shen, who had just come in. Jian Shen stared at the old man astoundedly. In that moment, he basically doubted whether he was seeing properly or not. Shortly afterwards, he used his hands to rub his eyes before looking again. The shock had completely flooded the depths of his mind. At that moment, the old man suddenly turned his head and looked at Jian Chen. With a calm expression and a profound gaze, he said simply, "Jian Chen, come sit." The gentle calling of Jian Chen instead caused him to freeze when he heard it. He exclaimed quietly, "Uncle Xiu, it's actually you." Jian Chen's mental state was greatly disturbed. No matter how he thought, he could never imagine that he would actually meet Uncle Xiu from Longevity Valley in the Holy Empire. Uncle Xiu did not say anything more. He sat there by himself, eating and drinking, and did not continue to pay any more attention to Jian Chen. Jian Chen sucked in a deep breath. He forcefully suppressed the shock and agitation within him, sitting in front of Uncle Xiu. Afterwards, he immediately asked with doubt, "Uncle Xiu, why are you here?" Uncle Xiu looked at Jian Chen. "This time, I've come specially for you." "For me?" A sliver of doubt appeared in Jian Chen's eyes. "Jian Chen, I know you've come to the Holy Empire this time to reach Class 7 as a Radiant Saint Master," Uncle Xiu said peacefully. However, his peaceful tone caused Jian Chen to react greatly. He stared at Uncle Xiu in stupefaction while great waves formed in his mental state. Jian Chen's identity as a Radiant Saint Master always was his greatest secret. In the world, there were not many who knew his Radiant Saint Master identity. What Jian Chen struggled to believe was, when did Uncle Xiu know about his identity as a Radiant Saint Master? At a certain moment earlier, a transparent barrier had been erected around the table where Jian Chen and Uncle Xiu sat. Uncle Xiu's calm voice sounded again, "Jian Chen, I cultivate darkness attributed Saint Force, so I'm extremely sensitive towards Radiant Saint Force. Also, I've been secretly observing you for a period of time, which is why I know your identity. And I think, it's not just me who knows you're a Radiant Saint Master. The Grand Elder of Mercenary City also probably knows already." Jian Chen thought quickly and asked, "Uncle Xiu, are you perhaps the sect Master Xiu Houston from the Bloodsword sect?" As the 4 saint rulers from the Bloodsword sect which helped the Changyang clan survive the disaster, were they also secretly sent by you? Uncle Xiu nodded, which basically equated to admitting it. Shortly afterwards, he did not continue the topic with Jian Chen and changed it. "Jian Chen, what identity do you plan on using to reach Class 7? Jian Chen had already thought through the question long ago. He replied without any additional thought, "I heard that it's extremely hard to obtain a chance to reach Class 7. The Holy Empire definitely will not give outsiders this chance, so I plan on going there with my identity as the Imperial Protector of the Qinhuang Kingdom to obtain this chance." Uncle Xiu shook his head, "You're wrong, Jian Chen. It's not as simple as you think it is. If you really do it like that, even if you become a Class 7 Radiant Saint Master, you'll be forever bound to the Radiant Saint Master Union and lose your freedom." Chapter 725. The City of God. Jian Chen was slightly shocked. He asked with a soft voice, "Uncle Xiu, perhaps there are some other secrets to it?" Uncle Xiu nodded, "Correct, it's just like you put it, there are indeed secrets that few people know about." He slowly finished off a cup of wine and said, "If you want a chance at breaking through to Class 7, you need to be a core member of the Radiant Saint Master Union or someone from the 3 great clans of the Empire. It's impossible for outsiders to obtain a chance. Also, the Radiant Saint Master Union and the 3 clans will definitely not let high-class Radiant Saint Masters just pass by, and will coerce and bribe them to join their forces. As a result, in the Holy Empire, or even the entire Tianyuan continent, basically all the Class 6 Radiant Saint Masters belong to the Union or the 3 clans. There are only a few people who can remain unbounded to the clans and Union, and they need at least an organization with the strength of an ancient clan backing them up to retain their freedom." Uncle Xiu looked at Jian Chen. "Jian Chen, you may be one of the imperial protectors of the Qinhuang Kingdom, but that identity will not be able to protect you at all. This is because the Qinhuang Kingdom is only a subsidiary country of one of the three clans. Once your identity is revealed, your movements will become greatly restricted. Also, in all of history, a Radiant Saint Master cannot be a fighter as well. Not only have you already become a Saint Ruler, you also possess the abilities of a Radiant Saint Master. Something this weird has never happened on the Tianyuan continent, not even in the ancient times. Once your secret about being both a fighter and a Radiant Saint Master is discovered by the Radiant Saint Master Union, it will definitely affect you. As for the outcome you have face, I have no idea, so it's best if you don't carelessly reveal that secret before you possess the strength to resist the Holy Empire. Jian Chen went silent. What Uncle Xiao had told him completely destroyed his plans. With that, not only did he have to keep his identity as an imperial protector hidden, he needed to conceal it as much as he could. Otherwise, once people knew that he was both a fighter and a Radiant Saint Master, it would definitely create trouble for him. Regarding the fact that he was a Radiant Saint Master, Jian Chen already knew that revealing it would cause some certain effects. Though, he was confident that with his strength as a Saint Ruler and the important status as an imperial protector, the small troubles caused would not be problematic. However, he never thought that the situation was much more severe than he had initially thought. It had completely exceeded his expectations. Uncle Xiao continued, other than that, there is another great secret to the Union. This secret directly affects all Class 7 Radiant Saint Master. My main reason for coming and finding you is because of this. Hearing that, Jian Chen suppressed the concern in his mind. He stared directly into Uncle Xiao's eyes, and waited for what he was going to say next. Uncle Xiao's expression became stern, which was rather rare. Jian Chen, if you didn't become a Class 6 Radiant Saint Master, joining the Union would inhibit you only slightly, but the inhibition is not that great. What really is important is that if you reach Class 7, all your actions will be restrained by the Union, and then forced into a secret research program. Not only will you lose your freedom, it'll even possibly threaten your life. Jian Chen's heart skipped a beat. He had never thought that the Radiant Saint Masters had such a dark side to it. Uncle Xiao, just what is this secret research project? Jian Chen could not suppress the curiosity in his heart, so he asked. Uncle Xiao paused slightly before continuing, the secret of breaking through Class 7 and reaching Class 8. Jian Chen was slightly stunned. Uncle Xiao, aren't there any Class 8 Radiant Saint Masters on the continent? Class 8 Radiant Saint Masters are heaven-defying existences. Why would they appear so easily? Uncle Xiao slowly raised his head to look at the ceiling of the restaurant. His vision seemed to be able to pass through the various obstructions and see the faraway stars. He said slowly, it's already been countless years since a Class 8 Radiant Saint Masters appeared. According to my understanding from some ancient records, a Class 8 Radiant Saint Master has only appeared once in the ancient times, and only that one time. Afterwards, there were no more Class 8 Radiant Saint Masters, because they are just too heaven-defying. Heaven-defying? Uncle Xiao, perhaps Class 8 Radiant Saint Masters have some great ability? Great curiosity bloomed in Jian Chen's heart. He was a Radiant Saint Master himself, so he was naturally extremely curious as to the abilities Radiant Saint Masters could possess. Class 8 Radiant Saint Masters indeed possess a heaven-defying ability. This ability is so great that it can even be terrifying. They can awaken the residue soul within ruler armaments and revive Saint Rulers from the ruler armament they left behind when they passed away. Jian Chen's body jerked involuntarily. He stared at Uncle Xiao in disbelief, and great waves of shock had begun surging in his heart. Undash. Uncle Xiao, is this true? Can they really use ruler armaments to revive their owners? Jian Chen asked with a trembling voice. As for whether it's true or not, I do not know. It's only some ancient rumors that I read from some records, though this isn't any secret to the large clans on the Tianyuan continent. Basically every ancient clan knows about this, and even some hermit clans know about it too. Uncle Xiao said. Jian Chen's heartbeat began to speed up. Before, He had learnt this from Du Gufeng and Huang Wan during the gathering of mercenaries, but he only thought it was a fake rumor at that time. He did not take it seriously. However, now that he had personally heard the same information from Uncle Xiao, he could not help but believe it. Even though everything seemed false and caused Jian Chen to be flooded with disbelief, yearning also appeared in Jian Chen's heart, a yearning for becoming a Class 8 Radiant Saint Master. Class 8 Radiant Saint Masters are actually so heaven-defying. I wonder if I can reach such a level in my lifetime. Jian Chen thought to himself. At that moment, Uncle Xiao continued, the research of the Radiant Saint Master Union has gone on for a very long time already. Almost every Class 7 Radiant Saint Master has devoted themselves to the research, but they've never succeeded and instead ruined many Class 7 Radiant Saint Masters. So, Jian Chen, after you reach Class 7, you must leave the Union. You must not participate in the research, because very few Class 7 Radiant Saint Masters have survived from it. Uncle Xiao, aren't there any Class 7 Radiant Saint Masters who don't want to do it? Jian Chen asked. You don't know how crazy Class 7 Radiant Saint Masters can be to reach Class 8. For that, they're willing to offer up their lives. Although there were a few people who were unwilling to participate in the research in the past, they lost their freedom after they entered the Union. Even if they attempt to escape, they'll just be recaptured by the experts of the 3 clans. Xiao Houston said. Jian Chen became stern. The information Uncle Xiao had provided him with completely overthrew what he knew about the Radiant Saint Master Union. Suddenly, Jian Chen thought of something. He asked, Uncle Xiao, will anyone recognize the white tiger? Uncle Xiao looked at the sleeping white tiger on Jian Chen's shoulder. On the Tianyuan continent, there are less than 10 people who can recognize the winged tiger god, and the 3 great empires do not possess any of them, so Jian Chen, you don't have to worry about this. However, you must remember to never reveal the winged tiger god before a Class 7 magical beast. Class 7 magical beasts can feel the suppression from the bloodline of the beast god in the winged tiger god. Hearing that, the burden in Jian Chen's heart seemed to collapse. He was completely at ease about it now. Jian Chen, I've told you what I need to tell you. I believe you will make smart decisions. Go. With that, Uncle Xiao disappeared without a sound. At the same time, the transparent barrier about the table disappeared. With the barrier gone, Jian Chen immediately heard the noisy hubbub of the restaurant. However, the people there did not discover that an elderly man had disappeared in front of where Jian Chen was sitting. In fact, they did not even seem to pay any attention to them when they were sitting together, as if they were just empty space. Jian Chen stood up slowly. What Uncle Xiao had told him completely destroyed Jian Chen's original plan. Right now, he had to come up with a new plan of obtaining the chance to reach Class 7. Jian Chen had already lost his appetite. Standing up from his chair, he turned around and left the restaurant. Riding his Class 4 magical beast mount, he departed from the place. After Jian Chen left, a person walked past where Jian Chen and Uncle Xiao were sitting in the restaurant. Seeing the table full of delicacies, the person could not help but reveal an expression of doubt. He thought hard, then his expression changed greatly. He cried aloud, I remember, it's that old man. Where'd that old man go? That bastard, he didn't pay. The person immediately ran outside and looked around in the bustling street. He could not help but sigh at the sky as he mumbled, God damn it, there goes my pay for this month. Jian Chen found an inn in the first-class city and replanned what he was going to do after today. 3 days later, Jian Chen departed from the city, and flew towards one of the 3 capitals of the Holy Empire, the City of God. This was because the Radiant Saint Master Union was there. 2 days later, on a path leading into the City of God, a luxurious carriage rolled quickly over the path. It created a great cloud of dust, and in around the carriage, there were around 50 mercenaries acting as escorts. Esteemed Radiant Saint Master, we only have 30 more kilometers before we arrive at one of the 3 capitals, the City of God. At this moment, the horse driver suddenly poked his head into the carriage and informed. The tightly shut door of the carriage was suddenly opened, which revealed a youth who seemed to be in his 20s, wearing a long, white and luxurious robe. The youth had an extremely handsome expression, and his plain and expressionless gaze seemed to carry an unique charm, as if it was as profound as the vast starry sky. The youth stared at the great city walls that could be vaguely seen in the distance and revealed a queer light in his eyes. Amrrr. At this moment, the soft cry of a beast sounded in the carriage. It was a snow-white, cat-sized tiger cub that lay on the youth's head, and stood up to look at the faraway walls. Great curiosity could be seen in its bright eyes. You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.